Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto ancient summoned Sasuke bashing. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by KYUUBIKITSUNE9 and link in the description and support writer. Let's start the video. Prologue. The day was October 10th, also known as the day the Yondaime Hokage defeated the Kyuubi no Kitsune, the nine-tailed fox. It had been 5 years since the incident and all around the village people were celebrating and cheering for the fox's demise. Most of the village knew that the Kyuubi no Kitsune was sealed inside a certain boy named Naruto Uzumaki and figured that he would grow up to turn into the nine-tailed fox incarnate. The ones who didn't figured that he was the fox itself in a human form and resented him along with the rest of the village. The only ones who knew otherwise were the ninja and Hokage of Konohagakure and treated him like a normal boy, if not some favored him, while a few of the ninja community downright hated him, having a similar mindset of the villagers. The blonde container was currently leaning against the fence of one of the training grounds away from the village. That training ground being training ground number 44, the Forest of Death. From far away one would consider he was relaxing and taking a nice nap. But if one were to get closer they would notice that they were in fact wrong and could see that the boy was on the brink of death. Below him was a pool of blood that was steadily increasing, his body littered with bruises, gashes, cuts, stabs, and some burn marks. Several long gashes could be seen across his torso, proof that he had been slashed by those who possessed swords, all equally piercing and cutting internal organs that one couldn't see from the outside. The boy's eyes were closed, but he was barely conscious, his wounds were slowly healing until several moments later a lone shinobi appeared before him. His only proof of being a ninja was the headband tied to his forehead, while the rest of his face and body were hidden away due to the black cloak he was wearing with the hood covering his head. "You will die on this day, you filthy fox demon," the man said as he dragged the boy a short distance away from the fence. "Prepare to suffer, if this doesn't kill you then the things in that forest will futen. Rinkuten wind release. Drilling air bullet," the man bellowed out as his stomach started inflating. After a few moments he slammed his fist into his stomach, shooting a bullet of pure wind out of his mouth and into the boy who was blasted over the fence and deep into the forest of death. "Good riddance, demon," the man said as he walked away, hidden by the darkness of night, the only light source showing his face slightly, revealing light cyan hair and a smirk on his lips. But Naruto's only thought as he sailed through the trees and air was one. "Why do you all hate me? Can't I die? Please kill me," as he finally crashed headfirst into a tree, fracturing his skull as he fell to the ground. His hand lightly landing on a metallic purple sword handle that he didn't care to notice. In Naruto's mindscape. After a few moments Naruto awoke inside of a sewer, pipes littering the roof and sides with a massive gate in front of him threatening to rip open. Its only resistance was that of a piece of paper in the middle with, to him, a bunch of scribbles on it. "So they threw me into a sewer this time. Better than last time when they tied me to a kunai on top of the Hokage's tower and made me fall to my untimely death. That didn't lead me to dying." "Wrong, boy," Naruto heard from a deep grumbling voice that originated from beyond the gate in front of him. "Who's there?" Naruto questioned while staring into the darkness behind the gate. After a few moments of deafening silence he saw two massive red slitted eyes appear behind the gate. "You are not inside of a sewer, brat, you are inside your mindscape, the subconscious part of your mind. I am the Kyuubi no Kitsune, and you will stop staring at me with those dead eyes of yours, or I will squash like the bug you are," the red eyes said as they moved forward into the light, revealing a massive orange fox the size of a small mountain. "I wish you would squash me, that way I wouldn't have to suffer anymore," Naruto replied as he looked down in sadness. "You're not scared or questioning why I'm here. Why is that so, mortal?" The fox demon questioned, pure curiosity filling his red eyes. "Well, I figured you would be here since I theorized that you can't really kill something as big and strong as you. It only made sense that you were sealed into me." It explained why the villagers were trying to kill me daily and kept calling me fox demon and demon brat, Naruto explained calmly while looking back into the fox's eyes. "You're smart, aren't you, boy? Smarter than I thought at least, but it appears we are not the only ones here," the fox demon stated as he looked to his left, making Naruto follow his gaze. What he saw would have made others lose their bowels, but Naruto didn't as he had dealt with death every day and the villagers' gazes, glares, and stares were scarier than anything he had experienced. Standing in front of him was a 10-foot-tall fat creature with torn and ripped shorts and no shirt. Littered across its body were massive gaping mouths, all of them open and salivating. The most notable one being the large one the size of the boy located on its stomach, open with a red eyeball inside of it staring into the boy's eyes as if it was studying his soul. "You're not scared of me?" the creature questioned in a deep rumbling tone that threatened to shake the entirety of the mindscape. "No. If anything, you're more like a pleasant toy I play with in pastimes, while my nightmares are much scarier than you look," Naruto replied, staring into the eyeball with his dead eyes that threatened to roll over, signifying his death, though they did nothing of the sort. It was so unnerving and dead that it made the creature and the fox shiver slightly before returning to normal. I see you interest me, boy. Your eyes show pain and hurt, betrayal and the unanswered wish of death of yourself. I'll make you a deal if you prove to me that you are of a certain material by allowing me to see your past, your dreams, your soul, and your chakra, then I will allow you to wield me and sign my contract. If you cannot, I will save you from your life and swallow you whole. Do we have a deal? The creature questioned while still staring into the boy's eyes. Deal, the boy replied without a hint of hesitation, a slight gleam of hope shining from his glowing cerulean eyes. The creature then walked forward and placed one of its giant meaty fingers on his forehead and drew out a small white ball that contained all of the boy's memories and dreams. It then brought it to the mouth on its stomach and swallowed it whole without hesitation. It stood still with its mouth closed for a few moments before opening it once more. Boy, your memories are horrible, and your dreams terrifying. I accept the first two conditions and will move on to the next two, the mouth said as it once again reached out, pressing its finger against the boy's chest where his heart was. He drew out a pure white ball that had hints of black in it before swallowing it too and stood still, with its maw closed for a few moments before opening once again. Your soul shows extreme purity with hints of taint, perfect for my contract. I will now move on to the last condition, the creature stated before reaching out and poking Naruto in the stomach, drawing out a massive blue ball the size of Naruto's body, with hints of white, black, and red in it. It opened its maw so widely that it threatened to split the creature in half before swallowing the ball and, once again for the final time, left it closed for a short while before opening once more. Your chakra is much larger than others, the yin and yang inside of it in perfect and harmonious balance. It shows the Kyuubi no Kitsune's chakra littered inside of it from healing you constantly and daily. Perfect for the contract I am offering you now, boy. For the most important part, do you accept the contract of the 7 sins? It questioned staring at the blonde boy with its one massive eye. I accept the contract. Tell me the conditions, Naruto replied while showing more light in his eyes. The conditions go as follows. 1. I will train you in the way of the ninja. I will teach you in each and every subject so that you may be the perfect ninja. 2. You will treat each of those in the contract as people and not monsters or sources of power. 3. You will allow each of those who you summon to reside in your mindscape and will allow us to join with your senses and will allow us to establish telepathic links in your mind so we may converse. And finally, you will kill, destroy, and maim any and all immortals you encounter, especially one with the name Orochimaru. Do you accept these terms, Naruto Uzumaki? The creature listed off, awaiting Naruto's answer. I accept these terms, on the account that the Kyuubi no Kitsune accepts them also. After all, I'm not the only one inhabiting this body, Naruto replied, making both the creature in front of him and the fox to the left of him widen their eyes in surprise. I accept these terms also, as long as you allow me to train the boy along with you, the fox said. The boy he's sealed inside of surprising him more and more. Alright, here is the scroll, sign it with your blood and we can get started, the creature said while drawing a large scroll out from the mouth on its stomach. It was pitch black and had a white strip down the middle. He opened it revealing that only one other had signed the contract. It showed the kanji for Orochimaru, but it had a large slash over it, revealing that he had been forcefully removed from summoning them anymore. Naruto bit his thumb and signed the kanji for Naruto Uzumaki in blood. After doing so, the contract disappeared and so did the creature. Standing in its place was a tall pale man with white hair and red eyes. He wore a white silk kimono with light cyan waves on the body with dark cyan trimming. He had his arms crossed against his chest as he stared the boy down. My name is Gluttony. I am also known by those I trust by Shingo stated as he continuously stared Naruto down. If you only tell your name to those you trust, then why tell me? Naruto questioned as he titled his head to the side and had genuine curiosity glimmering in his cerulean orbs. Because boy, you have experienced something that even we demons consider cruel. I am putting my full trust in you and I hope you do not betray it, Shingo said before continuing. Before we continue, I must tell you some things about the demon world. First of all demons are born neutral. They do not hate nor do they love humans. They do not hate nor do they love deities and holy beings. The only time they show hate is when someone or something tries to take something that belongs to us. Secondly, the fox sealed into you is one of the 9 infamous Bijuu. They are, in essence, the gods of the demon world and you shall treat them with respect. Thirdly, the one sealed inside of you is Kurama. He is the last of the Kitsune demon clan and you will treat him with the respect he deserves. Lastly, the others who you will meet later on are wrath, lust, envy, greed, pride, and sloth. You will only meet them when certain conditions are met. If they approve of you, they will allow you to summon them from then on and will give you their sword. All of us sins are sealed inside swords and you are lucky you found mine. You will treat all of us respectfully and will not treat us as trash like Orochimaru did. We are there for your gain, yes, but we are also there to be your teachers, your co-workers, and if you allow us, your friends and family, Shingo finished as he sat down beside Naruto and crossed his legs. Alright, understood Shingo Sensei. Naruto replied, staring at him and Kurama in awe. Alright then, for now I want you to continue acting like you have before. Do not fight back to the lowly trash you call villagers, and I wish for you to enroll in your village's ninja academy. Well, there I want you to fail twice and just barely pass on the third time. While doing so, I want you to dress and act like a fool. We need others to think of you as weak. It will allow you to surprise and overwhelm them. When any of us say so, that is when you are allowed to show your full power. You will not mention any of us, including Kurama-sama, until we say so. Agreed. Shingo lectured while watching the blonde boy. Yes, Shingo sensei. The boy chirped simply, life fully revived and shone in his eyes. Good, now wake up, grab my sword, and get back to your village and head to your so-called Hokage. You should be fully healed by now, but you are weak, you will have scars mind you, but you have excessive blood loss, and the only reason you're alive right now is because of Kurama-sama. Shingo said, getting up, simultaneously helping the boy up as well. Okay, Shingo sensei. The boy replied, walking away before stopping mid-stride and turning around. Exactly how do I exit this place? He questioned, making both Kurama and Shingo sweat drop. Close your eyes and try to focus on a small tugging in the back of your mind. Focus only on that and you should wake up. That's also how you get back here. Kurama stated before closing his eyes to sleep. Alright, see you guys later, or soon, or in my thoughts, or in, you know what, never mind, bye. Naruto said before closing his eyes and slowly fading away. Outside the mindscape, Naruto awoke to the side of a clearing. He was currently leaning back on a tree, and the sun showed light between the trees, signifying that it had just started its lift into the sky. Must have been here longer than I thought, Naruto thought as he stood up and looked around him, studying his surroundings before looking down and to his left, revealing a large 1.5 meter long purple sword that was 2 feet wide. It had what looked like scratches littered across it. The handle was 4 inches long, and there was nothing covering it, revealing purple metal with one vertical scratch on each side of the handle. He picked it up and was surprised to find it weightless. Wonder why it's so light, it looks so heavy, Naruto thought before he got an unexpected response. It's because I have made you its wielder, to you it's weightless. To those you trust and allow to carry it, it feels like they're trying to lift the Hokage mountain. The weight is one of its 2 security measures. I won't tell you its other security measure, but I will teach you the first skill for it. I want you to pick it up and focus, don't close your eyes and just focus on the sword, try to put your energy inside of it. Once you feel you've done so, then say Mesem. Lukui, awaken. Gluttony. Shingo said inside of Naruto's mind, effectively startling him at first before he calmed down. Alright then, let's try this Mesem. Lukui. Naruto shouted aloud. After a few seconds the sword started lightly vibrating, drawing the blonde's attention before what happened next startled him. All the lines across the sword besides the ones on the handle opened rapidly, revealing giant gaping maws with jagged teeth, some with tongues hanging out and others without, where the supposed scratches once were. But Naruto-san, now do the same thing, but this time say Suman. Lukui, sleep. Gluttony. Shingo said inside of his mind. Suman. Lukui. Naruto bellowed out once more, the mouths all closing instantly, returning back to the image of scratches across it. That was so cool. Well, time to get to Hokage. But I don't want to be holding this thing all day, so I should get a sheath for it. Naruto said before Shingo provided a solution. Naruto-san, place it behind you on your back and a holster will automatically appear for you, Shingo said. Naruto did as he said and placed it behind his back. After a few seconds a black length of cloth soon appeared, wrapping itself around the sword tightly before going over Naruto's right shoulder and connected with another length of cloth on his left hip. The sword was large and it nearly eclipsed his shoulders, the blade stopping a few centimeters above the ground and from inside his shoulders, only improving the image of its eyes. So cool, Naruto said aloud before jetting off to meet his grandfather figure. 30 minutes later, in front of the Hokage Tower, Naruto arrived looking like he had just woke up and walked inside the Hokage Tower, ignoring the glares he got from the civilians located inside and the sad smile from the Hokage's secretary. He arrived at the door leading to the Hokage's office and knocked as hard as he could. After a little while a come-in came from behind the door and Naruto calmly walked in. Hey, Hokage. Naruto shouted as he walked inside and stopped in front of Sarutobi's desk. Naruto. To what do I owe the plea? The Hokage was stopped short before he took in Naruto's appearance and started to seethe with rage, letting out his kai, frightening the 3 Anbu in the room before he calmed down. If it's about my clothes and how I look, then don't worry. Kyuubi-sama healed me before I could die. I was told to come here by someone who I respect greatly to tell you some things. Naruto said before thinking, what do you want me to tell him, Shingo-sensei? Tell him everything I've told you. From what your memories show, he's one of the only people who you can trust with anything that I've informed you of. Shingo replied. First, Gigi, can you get the Anbu to leave the room? It's very important and can affect this village depending on how you take it, Naruto said. Sure, but Naruto, after this, you're going to tell me what happened to you, the worried Hokage said before snapping his fingers making the Anbu leave and put some chakra into the privacy seal on the bottom of his desk. Over the course of 20 minutes Naruto informed the olden Hokage about everything he had learned and been told from Shingo besides Shingo's and Kurama's actual names. Once he was finished the Hokage looked on towards Naruto with shock showing in his widened eyes before he snapped out of it. Naruto, how can I trust these claims that you make? They sound a little far-fetched for me to believe, the Hokage said with worry evident on his face. Can I show him Shingo-sensei? Go ahead Naruto-san, Shingo replied as Naruto pulled his sword from its sheath, making the cloth disappear. Nesum. Lukui. Naruto shouted as the sword snapped to life. The Hokage quickly jumped out of his seat in shock before calming down and sitting back in it. Alright Naruto-kun, I believe, I'll follow along with your and Gluttony-san's plan, so long as he promises not to harm you or put you in any danger. Sarutobi explained. Naruto, I'm going to teach you your first jutsu right now. Bite your thumb and draw blood, then place your hand on the ground and push chakra into it, then yell out Kuchiyas no jutsu. Lukui, Shingo explained. Naruto bit his thumb, slammed his hand on the ground and yelled out Kuchiyas no jutsu. Lukui summoning jutsu. Gluttony, seals ran across the ground before disappearing into smoke, blinding Naruto and the Sandaime Hokage. The smoke cleared only to reveal Shingo in his human form. Hello, here's in Sarutobi. My name is Gluttony. Naruto, go wait outside for me, if you would please. Shingo said. Naruto complied and walked out of the room and waited 10 minutes behind the closed door before it opened and Shingo walked out and closed it once more. Alright Naruto, he agreed. I'm going to dispel and we'll start your lesson soon. For now, Sarutobi-san is going to take you to the hospital in a few minutes so you may get a blood transfusion. Frankly, I'm surprised you haven't passed out yet and have gained my respect in that aspect. Shingo said before dispelling and going back into Naruto's mindscape before continuing. Also tonight while you're resting I'm going to bring you in here so that you may, as you humans say, spruce up the mindscape. All this sour water is making me thirsty, the gluttonous man said, making Naruto scowl slightly in disgust before the Hokage came out. Alright, let's go Naruto-kun. Hiruzen said walking away with Naruto. Little did Naruto know that this encounter would change his future and life for the better. 7 years later, it has been 7 years since Naruto started his training and 3 years since he joined the academy. He did as his demonic sensei said and failed the first 2 years and is now on his third. Over the years he has trained in Kenjutsu, Ninjutsu, Taijutsu, Shuriken Jutsu, and has tried to learn Genjutsu, which has been proven difficult for him because of his large chakra reserves. He practiced Gluttony's sword style which is called Devouring Hunger, which involves large sweeps and slices that are designed to take out multiple enemies at once, and small stab motions with small swings mixed in for when you're fighting a single opponent. He also tested his elemental affinity. His affinities were wind, water and fire, thanks to Kurama. In ninjutsu he learned one water technique, Suitin. Suijinheki water, release. Water formation wall, one wind technique, Fuitin. Tatapa, wind release. Great breakthrough, and 2 fire techniques, Kaiten. Genkakik no Jutsu fire release. Great fireball technique, and Kaiten. Karak, Endan fire release. Fire dragon flame bullet. He also learned one technique that Kurama created called Kitsune Henge, fox transformation, which made the user transform into whatever they imagined, and it was a physical transformation instead of a basic illusion. He also learned the Kage Bunshin from Kurama and Shingo, since they figured his large reserves and its memory recall would go hand in hand. He learned Kurama's Taijutsu stance called Burning Flow, which involved a rapid series of punches and kicks that seemed random that were laced with Kaiten chakra, making a burning effect onto anything he hit. He hasn't mastered Burning Flow or Devouring Hunger, but Kurama and Shingo tell him that he's close to mastering them. He also started learning Fuinjutsu on his 10th birthday and found that it was fairly easy for him, but has decided that it shouldn't be his main focus. He learned one Genjutsu that was taught to him by Shingo that was part of his Kushin, gluttonous art, that was called Kfuku, dead hunger, which simulated getting eaten alive from the inside out slowly for 3 hours straight. Over those 7 years he also met 2 people. Haruka Yumino, who he considered his father figure, and a girl named Tenten. At first Tenten only talked to him to want to study his sword, but after a while, and from following him while he wasn't watching, she noticed that almost all of the villagers would glare at him any chance they got and on occasion saw a glass beer bottle fly towards him and hit him in the face, well he just didn't care and would keep walking. After that she started talking and hanging out with him a lot more without the goal of seeing his sword and just wanted to be his friend. Eventually she learned that she had a small crush on the blonde-haired boy but figured it would pass over. After a while he trusted her and allowed her to watch him train if she promised to not interfere. He never summoned Shingo whenever she did watch, and Shingo didn't trust her enough to allow her to see him. After watching him train she started to respect him more. Our favorite blonde container is now on his way to the academy to take the Genin ninja test. Over the years he was enrolled, the Hokage allowed him to not have to show up each day, he just had to at least show up once a month. When he did arrive he acted like an idiot, but that would all change today. After he learned that they would pair up the dead last with the shinobi and Kenwaichi of the year, the demons and demon container had changed their plan. They did so once Kurama learned that an Uchiha was going to be nominated for shinobi of the year and he wouldn't be caught dead near them. He wanted Naruto to completely destroy said Uchiha in all subjects. Naruto had met glances with the Uchiha from time to time whenever he actually did show up in class. Naruto entered the class only to be met with the class's full attention on him, which unnerved him slightly, but he didn't show it. He walked down the middle aisle and sat in the far back left corner out of sight and hopefully, out of mind. His hopes were dashed though when the very Uchiha Kurama had told him to destroy in the tests walked up to him and stood in front of him. "I like your sword. Give it to me. I need it," the Uchiha said as he glared at Naruto with a dark smirk played across his face. "Yeah, Naruto baka, just give Sasuke the sword." Sakura and Ino said at the same time as they came up behind him. "Sure, if he doesn't mind losing his hand," Naruto said in a condescending tone while staring into the Uchiha's black eyes. "What's that supposed to mean, dope?" Sasuke questioned with an angry frown on his face. "My sword special. But if you want it so badly then here you go," Naruto said standing up and leaning it against the wall. Sasuke reached for it only to be met with 4 gaping open mouths with jagged teeth on the handle, threatening to eat anyone other than Naruto's hand should they get closer. "Oi, dope, what is this?" Sasuke questioned as he pulled back his hand. "That's its defense mechanism. It only allows its chosen wielder to hold it. If anyone else tries to then it will eat their hand," Naruto said as he reached for the handle. The mouths closed as he gripped it and placed it back on his back. "As for you two," Naruto pointed to Ino and Sakura, "you should stop with the fangirl bullshit girls who join just to follow their supposed prince wind up not surviving in the ninja world. One of 3 things usually happen, you either die, become crippled for the rest of your life, or become a sex slave or get raped daily by bandits and other villages. On rare occasions all 3 happen. If you don't want any of that then I suggest stop acting like brain-dead pieces of waste and start focusing on your training more," Naruto said as he stared at Ino and Sakura in the eye. It seemed they both got the message as they calmed down and walked away with shocked looks on their faces. Sasuke went back to his seat and at this point everyone was staring at Naruto in awe and shock. "Alright everyone, time for the Genin ninja test. Mizuki, please pass these out to the class. Feel free to cheat, but if you get caught then you fail automatically," Iruka said as he walked into the class, handed Mizuki a stack of papers and stood in front of his podium. Once the papers were passed out Iruka called out begin. And they all started their test. Naruto immediately noticed his test wasn't a Genin ninja test paper, but a Chunin one. This angered him slightly before he calmed down and started jotting down the answers as if he knew them by heart. Which he technically did since Shingo and Kurama drilled everything they could about the ninja world into his head daily. After 40 minutes had passed Iruka called out stop and they all had finished. After Iruka graded the tests, Naruto had gotten first place on the written test and Iruka was surprised to find it was a Chunin test instead and all the answers were correct and had no faults. Iruka was ecstatic because of this and started to bring all the students out into the training field where the targets were. "Alright students, one by one you guys will go and test your accuracy. You have to hit these 5 targets on or around the red dots to get points. We'll go in alphabetical order. Abiram Shino first," Iruka said as Shino stepped forward in his normal overcoat that covered half of his face. Shino got a 8/10, Hinata got a 7/10, Ino got a 8/10, Sakura got a 6/10, Kiba got 8/10, Shikamaru somehow managed to get a 8.5/10, Chouji got a 7/10, and Sasuke got a 9/10. "Alright, last but not least, Naruto Uzumaki," Iruka called out as Naruto stepped forward. He studied the targets and found that 3 of them were standing still. One at 2 meters in front of him, another at 4, and a last one at 6. There were 2 moving targets, one 5 meters in front of him and another at 8 meters. Naruto yawned and threw the 5 kunai and shuriken with careless abandon. He managed to hit all the targets on the red dot except for the last moving one. Only half of the kunai he threw at it managed to hit the target. "Naruto Uzumaki, 9.5. Iruka said with pride as he brought all the students including the seething Sasuke inside. "Alright, for the final test you will all go inside that room there and do the 3 academy jutsu. If you pass, the judges inside will give you your headband. If you fail then you will leave the academy and hope to pass next year. Alright, please go in alphabetical order. Abiram Shino first," Iruka said as he went inside the room with the judges. Shino, Hinata, Ino, Sakura, Sasuke, Chouji, Shikamaru and Kiba went inside and came out with headbands along with a multitude of other students. "Alright, guess it's my turn." Naruto said aloud as he got out of his seat. "Destroy him," Kitty heard Kurama say in his head as he headed towards the door. He went inside and was met by angry glares from 3 of the judges, one being Mizuki, the Hokage staring at Naruto proudly since he knew the plan, and Iruka, hoping for Naruto to pass it so he can finally become a ninja. "Naruto, please perform the henge," Sarutobi said as he studied Naruto for any hint of nervousness and hesitation and was pleased to find none. Naruto effortlessly did the henge but made it look like he strained to do so. "Now please do the kawarimi," the Hokage said as he was pleased with how Naruto was doing. Naruto once again did the kawarimi effortlessly by replacing himself with a log before reappearing, but looked like he was drained afterwards, this of course being an act. "Good, now please do the final jutsu. The bunshin," the Sandaime stated with hope and slight amusement glimmering in his aged eyes. Naruto did the hand seals for the bunshin, but at the last moment he changed the last seal quickly into the one for Kage bunshin and created 3 other clones of himself. He once again put on the tired act before dispelling them. "Congratulations Naruto, you have passed the Genin exam. Please come get your headband," the Hokage stated as he motioned for Mizuki to hand Naruto his headband. As Naruto reached out, Mizuki purposely dropped the headband, hoping for it to land on the ground, but was surprised when Naruto placed his foot under it at the last second and kicked up, making it fly upwards in front of him before grabbing it and smirked triumphantly. "Thanks Mizuki team, see you later Hokage Jiji," Naruto said as he walked out, leaving from a scene of the Hokage and Iruka, both glaring dangerously towards Mizuki. Naruto walked out of the classroom and started heading towards training ground number 42, which consisted of a massive lake and a large field of grassy plains with no trees in sight. Naruto studied his surroundings before taking off his orange jumpsuit and was left with a black undershirt and white baggy shorts. He took off the shirt to reveal the many scars that littered his torso and arms, the most notable being the large slash marks across his chest cavity. After Naruto pumped some chakra onto his chest, it revealed a large sealing array which lead across his arms and legs, stopping at his wrist and ankles. This was the sealing array for a resistant seal. It showed the kanji for 4 in the middle of his chest. There were 10 levels for a resistant seal, and the one he was currently on felt like he was trying to walk through a wall made of hardened mud. If you studied his wrists and ankles you would see small pieces of metal strapped to them that had weight seals on them. The ones on his wrist showed the kanji for 90 pounds, and the ones on his ankles showed the kanji for 150 pounds. Naruto spent the next 4 hours having 100 clones doing his kenjutsu and taijutsu katas, while another 100 were fighting on an outcropping of the lake on top of the water. Naruto himself was sitting on the water in the middle of the lake while he was attempting to spin a senbon needle on his finger and was constantly failing. His senseis wanted him to do the chakra exercises himself, otherwise he wouldn't know the pain and sense of accomplishment of completing hard work. If you studied his body you would see most of his baby fat was gone from his face and body, but some was still there. He had the definition for a 6-pack but didn't actually have one, as his teachers did not want him to become what they called a musclehead. After training for 4 hours Naruto put his clothes back on and started sprinting back to the village. Once he arrived he started running along the walls for an hour, having finished his 5 required daily laps that increased each month. He arrived at the gate relatively wiped out and started heading home. Next day, Naruto awoke relatively recharged and looked towards his clock, showing that it was 8 AM and he still had an hour before he had to go to the academy. He walked into his kitchen and started making himself some cereal. After eating the cereal at a speed that would make Gluttony jealous, he got up and went into his bathroom and took a 10-minute cold shower since the landlord never gave him warm water. He was used to it by now but was starting to wonder what it would feel like if he had warm water. After finishing his shower and coming out in just his penguin-style boxers he went to his closet. Inside was full of Kill Me Now orange jumpsuits. The only reason he had worn and bought them was because Shingo said it would improve his stealth abilities if he was able to outrun Anbu in it and would allow him to improve on the image of being the village idiot. He took out all the jumpsuits and stuffed them into a bag. He put the bag into a trash can and brought them to a safe distance away from anything that could be caught on fire. He then did the hand signs for a simple kaiten jutsu and set the clothes and trash can on fire. After a while the clothes had turned to ash and he did a simple suitin jutsu to put the small flames out. After he had finished cleaning up the ashes he went into his closet and brought out a box. Inside were clothes that, in the past, otherwise would have been very oversized for him, but he bought them in advance. Since Naruto now stood at a good 5'2" the clothes would fit him fine. He took the clothes out and started getting dressed. After he was done he looked into the mirror to see how he looked. He now wore black Anbu pants with steel-pointed black shoes. He had a senbon pack on his left shoulder, a shuriken pack on his left leg, and a kunai one on his right leg. He had on a pitch black short-sleeved shirt that had mesh armor on underneath. He had bandages wrapped around his shoulders and a scroll-holding pack on his lower back where he stored the scrolls he was learning from inside. All in all, he looked like a very deadly ninja. After he was done studying himself, he set out for the academy with his purple hungry sword on his back. He jumped from rooftop to rooftop and had arrived at the academy in no less than 10 minutes. He went inside the building and headed towards the door to his classroom. He had arrived a little early, so there weren't really any inside except for Shikamaru and Shino. The latter was passed out on his desk while the former was staring at a bug that was resting on his finger. Naruto didn't really have anything against them, and if anything, he kind of liked them. They were quiet and took their ninja responsibilities seriously. Even if one of them was asleep constantly, he had proved that he was the smartest in the class. If Naruto had to place himself on knowledge throughout the class, he would place himself as the fourth smartest person. Just behind Sakura at third and Shino at second. After waiting for a few moments and a snoring Nara later, students started filtering in. He noticed that Sakura and Ino hadn't arrived yet. After a while, they started hearing yelling from outside the classroom from the two missing students. As they walked in, what they were arguing about, no one had expected them to be fighting over. No, I said that I need some aloe vera stems so that I can heal burns and cuts for the team I'm placed on. I want to be a respected medic and I need some from you. Please, can't you just help me, Ino-chan? Sakura pleaded as she walked inside, surprising some with her new clothes. Instead of the red mini dress that she used to wear, she had on a black version of it with grey trimming. She wore the usual black spats underneath and had shuriken and kunai holders on her left and right arm respectively. I'm sorry, Sakura-chan, but I don't have any. Tell you what, if you help train me in my strength so that I can get as strong as you, then I'll try to find some for you. Ino said as she followed her inside. She was wearing the same attire as before, but instead it was a darker shade of purple, and she had a senbon pack on her right leg and a scroll packet just above her waist, where her headband was located. The fact that they weren't calling each other forehead and Ino pig and that they were talking about becoming serious added on with their changed attire had startled and awed everyone in the classroom. Looks like they took what I said seriously. Good, now they will grow to be respectful and powerful, and Ninja Naruto thought as he noticed that they were coming towards him. Hey Naruto, we just wanted to say thanks for telling us off yesterday. It really helped. I stopped my diet and have started training seriously, so on that note, thank you. Sakura said as she and Ino arrived in front of his desk. Yay, after thinking about what you said, the whole fangirl thing seemed kind of silly, so thanks a lot, Naruto. Ino said as she stepped up beside Sakura. It was nothing. As long as you take your training seriously, then I don't care. I suggest finding a seat though. Iruka-sensei is going to get here soon. Naruto said as he gave them a genuine smile that caused most of the girls in his class to gain a light pink tint to their cheeks before returning back to normal. After he finished his sentence, they both bowed respectfully and headed to the other side of the classroom and continued talking about their training. A few moments later, Iruka arrived inside the classroom. Alright everyone, here are the teams. Team 1, Iruka said as Naruto tuned him out until something relevant to him came. Team 7 is Sasuke Uchiha, Kiba Inuzuka, and Sai, who you both will meet later. Your Jonin sensei is Kakashi Haddock. Team 8 is Hinata Hyuga, Shino Aburam, and Sakura Haruno. Your Jonin sensei is Kurina Yuhi. Team 9 is still in circulation, so I will be moving on to Team 10. Team 10 is Shikamaru Nara, Choji Akamichi, and Ino Yamanaka. Your Jonin sensei is Asuma Sarutobi. Finally, Team 11 is special as it is the first one-man team. Team 11 is Naruto Uzumaki, your Jonin sensei is Jeku Hade. Alright, I wish you all luck and experience on the ninja field. I hope to see you all again someday, goodbye. Iruka said as he walked outside the classroom. Everyone in the classroom immediately started talking amongst themselves. Over the course of 10 minutes, teams 1 through 6 were called out. The girl with red eyes and long unruly hair arrived in the classroom. Team 8. She called out. Her response was Sakura, Shino and Hinata all standing up and walking towards her, following her out of the classroom. After a few more moments, a gruff man with a cigarette in his mouth arrived in the classroom. Team 10, come with me. He said as Shikamaru, Choji, and Ino got up and followed him out. After a few more moments, a Cyclopean ninja came inside. Team 7, let's go. He said with an eye smile as Kiba and Sasuke stood up and followed him out. After a few more minutes of silence and Naruto being by himself, he decided to study up and pulled out a scroll for advanced chakra manipulation and began his training with a senbon needle. A few more minutes later and a sickly man arrived. Team, 11. He said as he stared at Naruto. Naruto rolled up the scroll he was reading and headed towards him. Meet me, on the roof. The man stated as he disappeared in a shunshin of leaves. Naruto followed in a shunshin of his own made of water, fire, wind, and darkness. They arrived on the roof at the same time, surprising Jeku slightly. Alright then, let's introduce ourselves. My name is Jeku Hade, I like swords, my girlfriend Yuga Yuzuki, and Kenjutsu. I dislike arrogant people and slackers. My hobbies are training and studying swords. My dream is to become the greatest swordsman in the 5 great nations. Jaku stated, forgetting to keep up his image of sickness, which Naruto noticed. He gestured toward Naruto and Naruto started his introduction. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, I like Shingo Sensei, Kyuubi-sama, training and ramen. I dislike those who can't move on from the past, disrespect, and the 3 minutes it takes for ramen to cook. My hobbies are training, learning new things, reading, and talking with Shingo Sensei and Kyuubi-sama. My dream is to kill Orochimaru for hurting Shingo Sensei and to become the greatest Hokage in history, Naruto said to his newly appointed sensei. A job, now I have a few questions. Jaku was cut off by Naruto. Deku Sensei, if they're about Kyuubi-sama and Shingo Sensei, then you will have to talk to Hokage Jiji about it, Naruto said before silencing himself. Alright, then I have 2 questions. How well can you use that sword and what style do you use for it? Jaku questioned, dropping his sickly demeanor in front of his newly acquired student since he figured that Naruto already found out it was an act. Shingo Sensei says I'm at high gen and low Chunin level with it. He said the style is called Devouring Hunger. Naruto said, studying his new sensei for any hints of deception or malice and was pleased to find none. Well then Naruto, for now we're going to go to training ground 11 and you're going to spar with me in Taijutsu, Kinjutsu and Ninjutsu so that I can get a good feel on how to train you. Agreed. Jaku asked while staring Naruto in the eyes, seeing glints of excitement and power. Agreed, shall we go? Naruto said before jumping on the railing of the roof and heading off for training ground 11 with Jaku behind him. They arrived to training ground 11 shortly afterwards and Naruto was surprised to find out that it was in fact a semi-small forest with a small lake and 10 stumps of wood in a circle with targets on the front, top, and back of them. Close to the lake were training dummies made of wood, metal, and concrete to practice on. And to the left of the forest was a large grassy plain with grass spreading out as far as the eye could see. Pretty big and interesting training ground. I have to ask you before we start, Jaku-sensei. My sword is special and I was wondering if you wanted to test it with its powers unleashed or just use it for Kinjutsu and use my style against you. Naruto questioned with a serious expression adorned his face. Just use your Kinjutsu style with it, Naruto, you can surprise me later on missions with its full power. For now I'm going to set this timer for 10 minutes. During that time you may only use Kinjutsu against me. Jaku said as he pulled a timer out from behind him and placed it on one of the many logs in the circle and going to the middle of the circle with Naruto following him. They stood eye to eye and after a few moments Naruto pulled his sword out of its sheath on his back and had it facing Jaku in front of him with both hands on the handle. Begin. Jaku said as he ran towards Naruto, drawing his sword from its sheath on his back. He did a vertical slash at Naruto which was easily blocked before doing another rapid series of slashes aimed at Naruto's torso that were all blocked but with more difficulty. At this point all Naruto could do was block and dodge as he was pressed backwards. Every time Naruto would see an opening it would quickly be covered with another slash towards Naruto's torso. Naruto finally managed to get a strike in when Jaku threw his body forward too much purposefully and Naruto smashed his left side with the blunt side of Naruto's sword. Jaku jumped away at the last second but still got hit, giving him minimal damage, but the blunt force trauma still hurt him greatly. Naruto threw his sword at Jaku and Jaku latched onto its handle, planning to throw it back, but was surprised when, instead of throwing it back, it kept flying forward, taking Jaku along with it and landed on the ground, launching Jaku into the plains. Naruto was running after him during the whole thing and jetted forward, grabbing his sword along the way. He arrived in front of Jaku and just before he swung down the timer went off. Naruto stopped the sword just before it sliced Jaku in half, stopped with the tip of it just over Jaku's head. Nice job, Naruto, Jaku stated as he got up with Naruto helping him along the way. Why couldn't I stop your sword from flying after you threw it though? He questioned, awaiting an answer. My sword special, it has 2 defense mechanisms on it, one of which is that to the wielder it chooses it is weightless, but to others that the wielder trusts it weighs as much as the Hokage mountain and more. Naruto explained as they walked back to where the timer was. I see, nice job using that to your advantage, that was good planning and you managed to make it up on the fly, I'm impressed. But your Kinjutsu could use more work. Jaku provided as he went back to the timer. Alright Naruto, 10 minutes again but this time, Taijutsu only. Jaku stated as he set his sword on the ground next to the timer as Naruto did the same. Sensei, my Taijutsu includes using Kaiten chakra to burn my enemies as I attack, do you wish for me to use the chakra or just the Taijutsu? Naruto questioned as he went to the middle of the log circle with Jaku following shortly behind him. Just use the Taijutsu, Naruto. Jaku said as Naruto turned around and they got into their stances. Jaku got into a basic Jonin level stance, which had his legs spread apart with his right leg forward. His right arm out with his hand in a lotus palm position. His left hand tucked away at his side with an inverted fist facing upward. Naruto placed his legs apart while dragging his right foot slightly behind and to the side of his left foot. He had his right arm tucked by his shoulder, the hand formed into a fist next to his face. His left arm stretched outwards a short distance away and his hand closed in a semi-open fist. Begin. Deku stated as Naruto rushed forward. Naruto threw a right hook towards Deku's face, which was easily blocked by his right hand. Naruto did an uppercut with his left hand launching himself up into the air at the same time, which Deku dodged just before it hit. Naruto spun in mid-air using Deku as leverage and tried to spin kick him in the face which Deku blocked, making him skid a few feet away. Naruto ran forward and slid in between Deku's legs and grabbed both with his hands at the same time. Naruto pivoted himself up while still holding on, which in turn tripped Deku and launched him into the air a few feet above the ground before Deku flipped and landed on his feet. Naruto ran forward and aimed a rapid amount of punches to Deku's face that were going at Chunin level speed. Deku managed to block all of them with ease before another right hook came to his face which he grabbed. Naruto at the same time launched another punch toward Deku's stomach which landed painfully because Deku couldn't see it as the fist in front of his face he was holding was blocking his vision. Deku skidded back a couple feet before he looked up from his slightly crouched over position. Naruto was mid-air and coming down fast on Deku and just before his punch landed on top of Deku's head, the timer rang. Naruto changed his position immediately and, instead of landing a punch on Deku's skull, he landed behind him and stood still before turning around and bowing to Deku. Thank you very much for this experience, sensei. I can now say with pride that I was able to slightly challenge my sensei into jutsu. Naruto stated before returning back to a standing position. That's fine, Naruto. Now I want you to show me the strongest jutsu you know for the elements. The Hokage told me you already know your elemental affinities, so please demonstrate them for me. Deku stated before walking towards the lake and standing in front of it motioning for Naruto to continue. Kaiten. Kiriken and fire release. Fire dragon flame bullet, Naruto shouted aloud after doing the necessary hand signs. After doing so, his cheeks puffed up and he blew out the fire. It quickly took the shape of a medium-sized dragon the size of a large tree and it then blew out 3 bullets made of flames into the lake before they disappeared into steam. Naruto then started doing the hand signs for his next jutsu. Suiten. Sujin Heki. Water release. Water formation wall, Naruto shouted as his cheeks started inflating once again. After a few seconds he blew out and water started jetting from his mouth like a fire hose, creating a large wall of water in front of him for a few moments before he stopped and the water died down into the lake. Naruto then did more hand signs and shouted his next and final jutsu. Gyuiten. Tatapa wind release. Great breakthrough, after he said those words wind started to pick up and blew rapidly in front of him, tossing the water violently in every which way before finally settling down. So you have 3 elemental affinities, huh? That's good, maybe you'll be able to create a sub-element like boil, scorch or ice release if you train enough. Or maybe you'll be able to create an entirely new sub-release which involves all 3. I heard from the Hokage that you can create cage bunshin, which means you can enhance your fire and water techniques with wind techniques, which essentially means you can create collaboration just without having to have another person with you. Now, onto our team's purpose. Our purpose is assassination, elimination, and support. Since you can create a small army and still be fine, that means that elimination missions will be easier and we can do recon missions with your clones. We will do support missions, which means we will assist other teams on missions. On rare cases we may even help other villages' teams on missions too. For now, let's go to the mission center and get some D ranks to start us off. The minimum requirement to do C rank missions is 50 D ranks, we should be able to do those easily thanks to your shadow clones, but I advise not using them all the time. It will help you build character if you do them by yourself and won't allow you to rely on them all the time. Afterwards we will do your training for 4 hours until 6 PM, we will train at 6 AM to 9 AM in the mornings, do D-rank missions until 2 PM, and then resume your training afterwards until 6 PM. On Sundays we will cut the training and mission times down to half so that you have half a day to relax and rest. For now, the Hokage said that you have another sensei that is currently training with you. I will help you with what you're working on now, but tomorrow I want you to bring that sensei here so that we may train you together. What are you working on at the moment? Deku lectured with Naruto's full attention on him, excitement bouncing around in his cerulean orbs. Well, since I can already do the tree and water walking exercise and have done the spinning kunai exercise, I was to do the spinning senbon exercise while doing the water sitting exercise in the middle of the lake. Naruto replied whilst staring his sensei in the eyes showing his full attention. Alright then, we'll do that, you have your clones keep doing what you were doing before and have them do so while we do missions as well, it will help your training and other subjects. For now, follow me so we can do that spinning senbon exercise, I'll try to help you if I can. Deku said with a genuine smile on his lips, already liking his student more and more. Later that night Naruto returned home more tired than ever before. After a long day of training Naruto now learned why the other senseis were snickering at him when his teacher was announced as Deku Hade. He now understood the man's nickname of Hate the Slave Driver. Mission to Wave Part 1. It had been a little over 2 months since Naruto first got his Jonin sensei Jeku Hate. Over those 2 months Naruto has been training with Jeku and Shingo in Kenjutsu. Though Naruto never summoned Shingo in front of Jeku and Jeku has only met him once when Shingo had told him that they couldn't teach him at the same time because of conditions that he should not know about until the Hokage or Naruto deem him ready. During those 2 months Naruto learned one more technique for gluttony called F+Do, feed. What F+Do did was wherever he sliced whether it hit the enemy or not a small mouth that looked like the ones on his sword would form and its eyes would depend on how big the slice was. After it formed it would eat anything that was in front of or around it until the object it was eating was gone or it lost energy. The longest Naruto could hold for the technique, no matter its size, was a maximum of 15 seconds. Naruto completed the Senbon spinning and water sitting technique and was now working on incorporating elemental chakra into gluttony. Shingo said that gluttony could gain additional abilities depending on which type of chakra you put into it. The effects would always be different for different people and different chakra and Naruto had yet to actually do so. Right now Naruto and Jeku were heading to the Hokage's office to get their first C rank. They had completed 52 D ranks and Jeku decided that he was ready. Granted, the clones Naruto could make sped up that process, but ready all the more. They arrived to the Hokage's door and heard yelling going on inside. Naruto, thinking the Hokage was under attack, rushed inside and banged through with his sword drawn. Only to walk in on a scene of Sasuke slamming his hands onto the Hokage's desk, Kakashi shaking his head in disappointment, a weird pale guy staring at Naruto with the fakest smile he's ever seen, and Kiba looking at Sasuke like he was crazy. Naruto sheathed his sword back and decided to figure out what was going on. And what exactly is happening here? Why is the Uchiha yelling at the Hokage? Naruto asked with malice lacing his words as he hated the disrespect the Uchiha was showing towards their leader. Naruto. Nice to see you, my boy. Sorry about that, Sasuke here said he was tired of taking on D rank missions and wanted a C rank to, as he put it, prove his power. The olden Hokage said, watching Naruto in amusement for what Naruto might do. Really? And why are you disrespecting the Hokage in his own office in his village about proving your power? Naruto asked, leaking a small amount killing intent towards Sasuke. This old bass Sasuke was cut off by Naruto's sword just under his neck, ready to lop his head off. I'm sorry, do you want to finish that sentence or do you want to leave? I'm sure you'd love to visit all of your family again, wouldn't you? Naruto asked, letting out all of his kai, not scaring the Anbu, Hokage, or Jonin in the room, but effectively spooking the genin in the room besides the pale one. Hokage Jiji, how many D ranks have they completed? Naruto asked as he sheathed his sword. 36, Naruto-kun. Sarutobi said with amusement showering his eyes. Well, Sasuke team, you need to complete 14 more D ranks before you can get a C rank mission. That's also only if the Hokage allows you to take on more missions because of the blatant disrespect and malice you've shown towards him, Naruto said, staring Sasuke in the eye. After a few moments of silence, Sasuke stormed out of the room with Kakashi, Kiba, and the pale kid following him shortly after. Well, Hokage Jiji, I'm here for my first C rank. Naruto said, standing at attention. Very well, Naruto, you've come just in time actually. Teammate has actually taken a C rank mission to protect a bridge builder. Will they bring him to Nami no Kuni and protect him until the bridge is done? This will be their first C rank missions as well. For you, this is a support and elimination mission. I want you to help them on their mission, but at the same time I want you to eliminate Gato and his bandits to liberate Nami no Kuni from his rule. What you do with his funds and other such things are not of my concern. Along the way you may recruit whoever you wish to join our village, so long as they prove useful. Do you accept this mission? The Hokage lectured, waiting for Naruto's answer. I accept this mission, Hokage-sama. Naruto replied while bowing. Good, your mission begins tomorrow at 8 AM. You are to meet at the front gate with teammate and your client Izuna. This is a 2-week-long mission and I suggest you pack accordingly. The Hokage explained, and as soon as he was finished Naruto left. Wow, Hokage-sama, you sure got a tough one on your hands. I didn't even see him move, Lemur said from behind the couch on the back left side of the office. I sure do. Now stop talking amongst yourselves and prepare for any new ninja that Naruto might bring back. The Hokage said as he stood up and stared out the window. Hi, Hokage-sama. The Anbu said as they left, not leaving a trace. With Naruto, the next day, Naruto was currently on his way to the front gate. He had packed accordingly for the 2 weeks he would be away and told Tenten and Iruka about his mission. Walking beside him was Jeku, and they were arriving to the massive front doors. As he arrived he looked around and saw teammate with Izuna on the left side of the open gateway, leaning on the door. He walked towards them and got an immediate response from the red-eyed girl. Are you Team 11? The girl questioned as she stepped forward. She sized up Jeku and Naruto, and she had to say that they didn't look like anything special, even if she knew Jeku's insane training method. That's, us. My name is, Jeku Hade, this, is Naruto Yuzi Maki. We are here to, help you on your, mission. Jeku said, putting up his sick act. I see, my name is Kurenai, I'm the Jonin sensei for Team 8, this is Hinata Hyuga, Shino Aburam, and Sakura Haruno. The old drunkard over there is Tazuna, the bridge builder. We should get moving, the earlier we leave the faster we get there. Kurenai said, pointing to the people respectively before they set out. 2-hour walk later, then Kachi said he wanted to marry my daughter. Can you believe that, ahahaha? Tazuna said as he walked alongside Naruto. Over the course of 2 hours, Naruto had managed to somehow sober the man up and engaged in a conversation with him to pass the time. As they kept walking forward, Naruto noticed a puddle and immediately realized that it was a genjutsu. He looked behind him and signaled to Jeku and Kurenai, to which they signaled back. As they passed the puddle, 2 people appeared out of it. Both were wearing claw gauntlets with chains connecting them. They ran forward and wrapped the 2 sensei up before pulling, splashing everyone around in blood and gore. Naruto immediately jumped back and unsheathed his sword. Everyone else was paralyzed with fear and disgust. Naruto swung at the brother on the right, which was effectively blocked, before Naruto launched into a series of slashes and stabs that cut small gashes into the first brother's skin. Naruto looked over and noticed the second brother running towards Tazuna. Naruto jumped back from the first brother and arrived behind the second. He slashed the second brother's Achilles tendon and jumped back to the first brother. Naruto slashed at the first brother's stomach only to miss because the brother jumped back. Naruto ran forward while he was still mid-air and arrived behind him. He tried to slice at his Achilles tendon as well, but missed by a few centimeters. Naruto jumped forward to quickly close the distance and managed to slice both Achilles tendons on his legs before resheathing his sword. Alright senseis, you can come out now. Naruto said, surprising Hinata, Shino, and Sakura. After he said those words, Kurenai and Jeku, nice job Naruto. Good reactions and nice way of protecting your peers and client. Jeku commented while patting Naruto on the shoulder, forgetting his sick act. I knew it was an act. Kurenai announced while pointing at Jeku with a triumphant smile on her face. Fuck. I hate it when I keep forgetting to act sick around you Naruto. Jeku complained in a whiny voice while Naruto walked back to the rest of the group, the senseis close behind him. I don't get it, you guys aren't dead, and Naruto, why weren't you surprised or grossed out when our senses supposedly died? Sakura questioned, shock evident on her face. You get used to seeing blood and guts when you see your own on a daily basis when you were little, was Naruto's only reply as he walked towards the 2 brothers and tied them up. After tying them up, Naruto sat in front of them and began to negotiate. Alright Gozu, Maizu, you have 2 choices. You can either join our village and try to recruit whoever you want to come along, or you can die here. Your pick. Naruto said while staring them down. And why should we listen to you? You'll just kill us before we even get to your stupid ass village. Gozu said, staring Naruto into his eyes looking for any sign of deception and was surprised to find none. Yay, and you'll just slaughter everyone we bring with us anyway, Maizu said while looking down, sadness apparent in his brown orbs. Listen, I don't know what you've experienced in your life, but I don't do those types of things, and if anyone tried to, then I would protect you and whoever you bring with you with my life. If I failed to do so, then I would at least buy you enough time to get away. Just trust me, okay, Naruto said, sadness and truth the only things showing on his face and cerulean eyeballs. Brother, he's not lying, should we do it? Gozu asked, turning to his brother with hope apparent in his voice. I think we should, brother, he shows no signs of lies or deception. I think we can trust him. Maizu said before turning back to Naruto and continuing. But if we find out you're lying or deceiving us, and we along with whomever we bring with us will mutilate you. Maizu yelled while staring into Naruto's eyes. After a few seconds of silence and Naruto untying their ropes, they both stood up before kneeling because of their Achilles tendons being cut, before speaking. The people we try to bring and recruit with us you must not judge because of the past, okay? It is only 2 people, but in the past they have done some bad things. Maizu said as he watched Naruto lean down to study their Achilles tendon. Alright, I don't care about their past as long as they agree to join us. Naruto said as he placed his hands on the cuts and focused some of Kurama's chakra into the cuts, healing it instantly before he stood up. Okay, their names are Zabuza and Haku Mamachi. You will meet them soon, we will be there with them. See you soon, Naruto-san. Gozu said as he and Maizu disappeared. Ugh, this is so confusing, let's ignore that for the time being and ask Tazuna-san here why they were hired to attack us, Sakura said before turning to Tazuna and glaring at him. Forget that, Sakura-san, I already know why and I'm going to finish my mission, feel free to come along if you wish. Naruto said as he walked back to the group and told Tazuna to lead the way. After saying that, everyone else reluctantly agreed and followed along. Another 2 hours later, Team 11, Team 8 and Tazuna all got off the boat they were riding and stepped onto the land of Nami no Kuni. As they walked forward they were met by mist that got thicker by the second until they couldn't see anymore and had to stop. Get down. Jeku shouted as everyone but Naruto hit the deck. Naruto pulled his sword out at a blinding speed and whacked the sword that would have beheaded him had he not drew his. The sword went flying upwards until it landed inside the ground, handle facing upwards to the heavens. After a few seconds Gozu, Maizu, Haku and Zabuza appeared around the sword. Zabuza grabbed the sword and placed it on his back before walking towards Naruto, who sheathed his as well. "Are you Naruto?" Zabuza questioned as he pointed at the blonde-haired boy. "Yes, I am, you must be Zabuza, Gozu and Maizu told me about you. Do you accept my offer?" Naruto questioned as he faced Zabuza unfazed, while the rest of the group just watched on. "Depends, why should I accept it and what happens to us if we do?" Zabuza continued, obviously suspicious of the boy who could deflect his sword. "You should accept so that you won't have to be on the run anymore and can live a normal life or can become ninja for Konohagakure. I don't honestly know what happens if you do accept, but I will tell you this now that should anything happen to you or attempt to happen to you, I will stop it with all my power," Naruto said while staring into Zabuza's eyes. After a few seconds of staring Zabuza started laughing loudly. "Gozu, Maizu, he's just like you said. I like you kid. Sure we'll join you. Just one thing though, I get to take Gato's head when the time comes." "Agreed," Zabuza said as he finished his laughing fit. "Sure, as long as you allow me to show him one of my kushin. I need to practice with it," Naruto said as Zabuza shook his head in agreement and they walked back to the group that was surprised of the outcome besides Jeku. "So what kind of sword is that kid?" Zabuza questioned while pointing at Naruto's sword. 3 hours later, Naruto and his group arrived at Tazuna's house, all exhausted besides Zabuza, Jeku and Naruto. Tazuna went up to the door and knocked as hard as he could at the moment and some noises could be heard from behind it. After a few seconds of waiting it opened and showed a blue-haired girl. "Father, you're home." The girl yelled in excitement and happiness as she jumped on him and hugged him for all he's worth. "Hey Tsunami, I'm home, now don't just keep hugging me and let me and these nice people inside," Tazuna said as his daughter finally relinquished her Herculean grip on his torso. "Oh sorry father, hello, my name is Tsunami, and who are you?" she asked with an innocent smile on her face. "We're the ninja that were hired to protect your father until he finishes the bridge," Naruto said as he followed Tsunami and Tazuna inside. Mission to Wave Part 2. Naruto, teammate Haku and Zabuza had stayed and guarded Tazuna while he completed the bridge for the past month. The reason it took so long was because Naruto decided not to have his Kage Bunshins help because he figured that with the workers' hard work, they would appreciate it more since they had no support, but eventually he had to relent on the final week because workers kept quitting. Fearing Gato would make their lives worse, so during the final week when another 3 workers quit leaving Tazuna with only 12 workers left, Naruto created 150 Kage Bunshins to help finish it and they would be done by the end of the week. During the week Zabuza had trained Naruto in his Kenjutsu and in his Suiton affinity by teaching him 3 jutsu. Those 3 being Suiton, Kurigakure no Jutsu Water Release, Hidden Mist Technique, Mizu Bunshin no Jutsu, Water Clone Technique, and Surum no Jutsu, Water Prison Technique. During this time he also learned a new kushin. This was called Supurito Kiga, Split Hunger, which uses one of the new abilities Naruto had found that Lukui had after he tried to put some wind chakra into the sword while it was activated. What happened both surprised and excited him. When he put wind chakra into the sword, the mouths across it and any other mouths outside the sword when he used F plus do, feed, all had a vacuum effect and massive torrent of wind would suck anything in its path towards the mouths, in which the mouths would then devour or absorb whatever had come. But Supurito Kiga he would create 2 Kage Bunshins that would then move to the left and right sides of the target and use F plus do to create the biggest mouths they could. He would then force wind chakra into them, which would then split the target in half straight down the middle. The less chakra he put, the less power the vacuum. He found he could use this as a slow torture method. Now keep in mind that he did not like killing, but the idea of enemies who had done horrible things throughout their lives being split apart and devoured made him a little giddy. Throughout this month Haku had grown on Naruto and she told him about her past, how she had a bloodline of the Hyoten, Ice Release, and of the bloodline purge happening in Kurigakure. She told him how her mother told her to hide it and never use it again, but she was far too excited to listen and her father had found her playing with it. Afterwards could only be described as chaos. Her father had then proceeded to gather a mob outside of their house and had them attack her mother. Her mother died protecting Haku from the mob, and when her father had tried to do the same to her, she unconsciously froze the mob and the shattered into pieces right in front of her. Afterwards she ran as far away as she could and had spent 3 years on the streets until Zabuza had found her, trained her, and eventually adopted her. She thought of herself as tool until Naruto stopped those thoughts entirely. Flashback. Haku had just finished telling her story with a happy smile on her face when Naruto surprised her with what he said next. So if you're just a tool then you don't mind if Zabuza cut off your arms and legs, then let the horrible people of the bloodline purge find you, rape you, and torture you. While he watched, smiled, and laughed. You're basically saying you don't like Zabuza and don't care what he says until he orders you to do something. Listen to me when I say this. You are not a tool, nor will you ever will be. Zabuza thinks of you as his daughter and would fight to his death to protect you because he loves you. Never forget that, or I will find you and I will make it so that you can't do anything with your arms, legs, and chakra. Don't let something slip out of your fingers. After all, you're lucky to have someone think of you like that, Naruto said with an emotionless face. He got up and started walking away, but when Haku watched him leave she could have sworn she saw tears falling off his chin. Flashback. After that incident Haku had stopped calling Zabuza, Zabuza-sama, and had instead started calling him Tusan and Zachan to get on his nerves. She never once thought of herself as a tool afterwards, and when she found Naruto shortly after, she saw that he was back to his normal self with no sign of earlier. She started to train herself so that she would never think of herself as a tool again, and never did from that point on. That incident had reminded her of another incident that had happened a short few days after. Flashback. It was dinner time at the Tazuna household. Everyone was enjoying themselves, joking about things, telling of funny missions from time to time. Even Naruto had added a few things in that had made everyone else but Inari laugh uproariously. At this point Naruto had a small smile on his face before Inari had spoken up. Why are you all even here? Gato will just kill you all. Just leave. Inari shouted as he stood up, stopping everyone from their laughter before Zabuza spoke up. You don't have to worry, brat, Gato won't do shit, and if he does he'll have a damn hard time trying not to piss himself since we'll be there to help and protect you. Zabuza surprisingly announced, bring smiles to everyone but Inari's and Naruto's faces. Shut up. You'll just die anyway. You don't know how we've had to suffer. You'll never understand our pain while you stay in your comfortable houses and your perfectly fine village. Inari shouted with tears coming down his face. Jeku and Kurenai grew worried at this and looked over at Naruto. Naruto started chuckling to himself, surprising some and saddening others. Then he spoke up. Really? We don't know your pain and suffering. There are 4 people here who have had worse than you and one whose experiences throughout life would have driven you insane. On the first year Shino here has been bullied and ridiculed because his clan uses bugs and everyone thinks of them as disgusting bug lovers. Because of that his entire clan hides themselves under those cloaks and don't show emotion because then others will think of them as weak even though they are as much a person as we are. Hinata is treated like trash by her entire clan because she doesn't have enough confidence in herself because of an incident when she was younger. Zabuza had to kill everyone in his graduating class, including his friends and teachers who he had come to love, in order to stop the village's cruel and unusual ways of graduation. Haku had to watch her father kill her mother and then kill her father, to which afterwards she had to run away and live on the streets for years, Naruto said emotionlessly before Inari spoke again. Who's the one whose life would drive me insane? Inari questioned. His sadness and rage subsided while he studied Naruto's face, seeing him scrunch up in pain before he started speaking again. That would be me. I was beaten to the point of death and even did die a few times just to wake up the next day perfectly fine. I was an orphan with no knowledge of his parents and was kicked out of the orphanage at 3. I was kicked out of every store and whenever they would let me in they would give me their worst and rotten products they could find and sold them to me at prices that would be 3 times the normal amount. I had to eat out of trash while everyday people would find me and beat me for something I couldn't control. Unlike you whose birthday brought you happiness only brought me pain and sometimes death. The only person who I could count on not hurting me would ignore almost all my life and didn't know these things were happening to me until it was too late. After 2 years of this I finally made a friend and it was the burden that had been placed on me. I also met one of my sensei who had taught me most, if not, everything I know while holding nothing against me. My 2 only friends were my sensei and my burden and they were considered demons through and through, yet when they saw what had happened to me though it was cruel. My only friends are voices in my head that people try to kill me for. Naruto said before he calmly got up and walked out the house, leaving a stunned group behind him except for Kurenai and Jeku, both who had downtrodden looks on their face. Sensei, is that true? Hinata questioned. Yes, but the worst part is that out of everything he said, every bit of it was true, but they were also the easy parts of his life. Meaning he just gave you the very, very light version of it, Kurenai replied, while Jeku got out of his seat and went to follow Naruto. But Naruto, what do you want, sensei? Naruto questioned emotionlessly, which made Jeku flinch slightly. I just have a few questions, Naruto. Jeku replied while moving next to Naruto and sitting down, motioning for Naruto to do the same, but slightly saddened when Naruto didn't. If they're about Kyuubi-sama you will still have to see Hokage Jiji about it, Naruto replied while turning and staring down into Jeku's eyes. No, I heard about everything from Hokage-sama shortly after we first met. He told me everything I needed to know except some other details. I just wanted to question you about the Kyuubi and Gluttony's intentions for you. I want to know I can trust them to not harm you in any way unless it's about training or defending you. Deku replied as Naruto sat down next to him and sighed loudly. Fine, hey sensei, I'll let you meet them and you can question them there. Naruto said while putting his hand on Deku's shoulder. Wait, what do you mean? His question was cut short when he was transported to a different area. In the mindscape, Deku looked around and saw that he was in a type of sewer that had pipes running along every wall with knee-deep water and a large gate in front of him. Naruto, where are we? Deku asked while studying his surroundings. We're in my mindscape, hey sensei, was Naruto's simple reply as rumblings started to resonate behind the gate. Shortly after, two large red-slitted eyes opened and approached forward, revealing the mountainous fox to them, surprising and startling Deku as he got into his taijutsu stance. Foolish mortal, if I wanted you dead you would be, besides, these massive bars prevent me from doing anything, and I wouldn't do anything, even if I wanted to, the massive beast said, as another voice came from their right. He's right, you know. The voice said as it revealed Shingo in his human form walking towards them. Hello Shingo-sensei, Kyuubi-sama, I take it you saw our conversation? Naruto asked, getting a nod from both before Deku made his presence known. Wait, he's your Shingo-sensei? But how is he here? I saw him outside the other day, remember? Deku rapidly asked while relaxing. Well, that would be because Shingo-sensei is actually a summon. He is actually that sword that I carry around on my back. All the swords I carry from now on will be some form of the 7 sins, and when I get one of their swords, they will reside in my mindscape while I use the swords outside of it. By the way, this is Shingo-sensei's human form, he uses it to teach me easier. Kyuubi-sama says he has one as well, but refuses to show it to me till I've earned the right to, as he likes to put it. Naruto replied as Deku sized up Shingo before launching into a rapid questioning marathon that lasted a few hours in the mindscape but 20 minutes outside. Flashback end. After that incident, Inari didn't come out of his room for days unless he had to eat or use the bathroom. Deku had started trusting Shingo with Naruto's training, after all, who else to teach you how to wield and use a sword other than the sword itself, but he was still wary of the Kyuubi, but trusted him nonetheless. Deku had stopped teaching Naruto Kenjutsu so that Shingo could teach him while he gave tips on how to improve here and there. Zabuza still taught him Kenjutsu though, seeing as he had more experience with overly large swords. It's currently the last day of the bridge being built and everyone was busy guarding Tazuna. Everyone thought that Gato would leave Tsunami and Inari alone since they proved to have to no purpose if they had them, but unfortunately they were wrong as they started hear loud marching from the other side of the bridge. When they looked they saw what were believed to be 200 to 250 bandits. Wrong kid, there's 289, we'll need to focus more on your observational skills later, Kyuubi said from inside Naruto's mind. Hi sensei, Naruto replied as he studied the group. Naruto, try to see if we can find Gato, he is our primary objective, secondary would be to eliminate the rest. Deku said as he studied the small army before them with Zabuza. Gato's not here, Zabuza said as he indeed didn't see hide nor hair of Gato. Wait, someone else is coming, along with 3 others. Shino said as his bugs communicated to him. What they saw arrive absolutely infuriated them. A short stumpy businessman in a grey business suit with red tie arrived with a skinny swordsman in a grey battle kimono and a rusted sword on his hip with Tsunami on his shoulder and Inari tucked under his arms. He threw them both down as Gato began talking. Surrender us the bridge builder or we will kill both of them. Maybe not the girl, she might make for a good price. He yelled aloud while grabbing Tsunami by the hair, awakening and startling her as he dragged her to him. He then proceeded to grab her light pink shirt and rip off the area around her C-cup breasts, exposing them to the air in all their perkiness. He then grabbed it roughly, making her wince in pain as he smashed his mouth on hers and invaded it with his tongue, before pulling back with a string of saliva connecting them as she cried during and after it with pure disgust and fear showed on her beautiful face. At the moment he began doing this, Naruto's rage grew to exponential amounts. Shortly after he grabbed the sword and brought it forward roughly. Rage clearly evident on his face. Naruto-san, if I may I please take over for a short while? I will gladly leave Gato to you, but I have a friend who I consider a sister who hates rape with a passion and by extension, so do I, Shingo said, getting a nod in reply from Naruto. Naruto then began to relax as everyone's eyes steadied on him. Hello Gato-san. I am here to show you what a true nightmare looks like. I hope you enjoy it, Shingo controlling Naruto's body said as he shifted his weight and used his demonic normal voice and had the sword ready. Lesm. Lukui, awaken. Gluttony, Shingo said as the sword snapped to life, surprising and startling everyone around. What Shingo Naruto didn't notice was that a blood-red katana appeared behind him in a torrent of flames. Some bandits had turned and ran, but didn't get very far as Deku appeared before them, forcing them back as he said. You awakened the demon, you have to suffer its wrath. He then started tossing them back into the mishmash of bandits. Then Shingo disappeared before reappearing in front of a bandit on the front lines and bisected him slowly, allowing the sword to start eating him from all the mouths on it. Gross crunching and squelching sounds could be heard as everyone stood there shocked before Kurenai turned Shino, Sakura, and Hinata around so they couldn't watch. Shingo then started slashing and swiping through the bandits, allowing his sword to eat and on some occasions swallow them whole. After 10 minutes of bandits screaming for their lives, guts and intestines littered across the floor, and only Gato, Tsunami and Inari were the only ones left. Shingo walked slowly towards Gato who had released Tsunami shortly after the slaughter had started and was on the ground begging for his life. Shingo relinquished control back to Naruto as he appeared back into the mindscape. VP please, H have mercy, I'll give you anything, M money, W women, A anything. Gato pleaded as Naruto stabbed his sword into the ground flat side facing Gato. Fushim. Kfuku, gluttonous art. Dead hunger, as he said this all the mouths closed and one massive mouth appeared in the middle of the sword the size of Gato. Inside it was a red eyeball that Gato couldn't help staring into. Then he proceeded to scream as loudly as he could before stopping a few seconds later and fainting, effectively waking Inari up as Jeku finished untying them and they walked to the other side of the bridge. Naruto then slapped Gato awake and he started crying and pissing himself. Fushim. Supurito Kiga, gluttonous art. Split hunger, Naruto announced as two clones appeared. Naruto kicked Gato upwards as one clone went under where he was and did a horizontal slash and announced F plus do feed and a mouth appeared as another clone jumped upwards above Gato and did a horizontal slash downward and announced F plus do as well and another mouth appeared. Naruto then channeled chakra slowly into the mouths, making said mouths start a vacuum above and below Gato, holding him in place in the air as he was slowly split apart. After 5 minutes of Gato screaming it finally and abruptly stopped as he was finally bisected at the waist. He then started to walk back to the group of people who stood at the other end of the battlefield of guts, intestines, and even some limbs. Zabuza was the first to speak. Damn kid, you really fucked them up. Remind me not to get on your bad side or ever make you angry, Zabuza announced as he studied Naruto's face which was emotionless at the time. Well, for now Naruto we have completed our mission. Head back to Tazuna's house with Tsunami and Inari and gather your things. Jeku said before Naruto spoke. Actually sensei I'm going to go and raid Gato's hideout, Kyuubi said that there isn't anyone there, meaning that Gato had pulled all the stops and brought them all here. Kyuubi told me that there are some things there that are entitled to me. Naruto said before grabbing the red sword next to him absent-mindedly and placing it on his back, making a red cloth wrap around it and going from his left shoulder to his right hip and walking away across the bridge towards Gato's hideout. 30 minutes later, Naruto arrived at Gato's hideout and followed Kyuubi's instructions as he traveled deeper into the base. Then he started to hear pain groans coming from the basement door he had passed and questioned Kyuubi about it. I thought you said no one's here. Remember kid, I can't sense life forces and chakra, only negative emotions. Bandits exude negative emotions, meaning that bandits aren't here, I didn't say anything about others. The Kyuubi replied as Naruto opened the Naruto and was immediately met with the smell of blood, sex, and tears. He proceeded to walk down the spiral staircase and when he reached the bottom he was outraged. Tied up to the wall by their hands by chains were women and female children. They were all naked except for some which were in cages. Some of the women tied up on the wall had a white substance coming between their legs, but that wasn't what made him extremely mad. Sure it added to his rage, but what really topped it off was some of the children who looked to be his age and some younger had the same substance on their face, in their hair, and between their legs. He was so mad he started to see red before Kyuubi and Shingo started using all their power to calm him down. After 5 minutes of this he was finally back to normal and walked forward, announcing his presence to those in said basement. At seeing him they all flinched and some started to struggle before he calmed them down. I am not here to harm or hurt any of you. I have just finished giving Gato the worst torture imaginable and killed him afterwards. I am here to release you. He said calmly as he walked forward and started using Lukui to cut their chains and locks on the cages. He walked to the staircase before speaking to the again. We are going upstairs into Gato's hideout. Once out I want you all to find clothes throughout the house and put them on. Then meet me outside and I will take you back home. He announced before walking up the stairs and once again following Kyuubi's directions. After 10 minutes of this he arrived at a large square room with a 15-foot-high cement ceiling and cement walls. In front of his was a large metal door the same height and a desk in front of it. Naruto moved around the desk and started using Lukui to slash at the door. After 3 minutes of this process the metal door finally fell and he walked inside. Aligned against the walls was gold and ryo as far as the eye could see. As he walked forward he arrived to the end and was surprised to find a desk with 4 scrolls on it and 2 swords. The first sword to his left looked to be a regular-sized katana and had a orangish tint to the blade. The guard was a dark red and the handle was wrapped in black cloth. The bottom had a silver plating that looked like it could be unscrewed. The second sword was much larger in size and looked to be a similar size as Zabuza's Kubikirabacho. Instead of the circle and half circle, it had a jagged edge on one side and on the other had 3 large metal spikes poking out. Strewn across it were seals that Naruto couldn't understand. The handle was a few centimeters longer than Zabuza's sword. The guard gone in replace for a circle of seals. The handle had red, blue, green, white and black cloth swirling on it. Kid, the red one is rightfully yours, it's your mother's sword. It's called Neketsu, hot blood. From what I saw when she used it, it could manipulate any blood spilt on it or any blood it spilt from enemies and use it to create different forms onto the sword itself. If someone were to master it enough, she said that person would be able to create entire swords with it. I don't know what the other sword is though, but I suggest taking it with you, maybe that Zabuza guy could tell you what it is. Also I think at least 2 of the scrolls in front of you are rightfully yours. Kyuubi explained while studying the swords through Naruto's eyes. Naruto then picked up the scrolls and studied them. Each scroll seemed to have blood seals on them, but the names were apparent. The first scroll said Uzumaki Sealing Techniques All Volumes. The second said Yuki Clan Hyoten Library. The third said nothing but had a symbol that Kyuubi told him was one that only demons ever used. It had a circle with 3 rings in it, in each ring were 3 tomo, all in the formation of a triangle at different positions. The final scroll said Untun, Cloud Release, Techniques All Volumes. What's Cloud Release? Naruto questioned. Cloud Release is when you mix fire, water, and wind chakra together. It allows users to create hallucinations, can manipulate temperate in a certain area, cause distractions that are deadly if ignored, and can allow you to use Hyoten, Ice Release, Shakuten Scorch Release, and Futton Boil Release if you train enough, but I'll tell you this right now. You specifically can't use any of these. My chakra causes disruptions when attempting to use them and will make your chakra retaliate and try to kill you. I highly doubt you want to freeze, melt, or evaporate to death. Untun, Cloud Release, you will have no problems with since you were able to do it since the beginning, but not those other 3. Kyuubi said, shutting down Naruto's hopes instantly. Whatever, let's get back to the others, they're probably waiting for us. Naruto replied, stuffing the scrolls into the scroll packet on his back and in his pockets, then grabbed the 2 swords and walked out, not before sealing most of the money into some of the storage scrolls he brought with him. After 5 minutes of doing so, he arrived outside to the sight of all the girls fully clothed and cleaned up, ready to go. Shall we? Naruto said as he led them back to the village. 40-minute walk later, Naruto arrived back to the village with all the women in tow. Once they reached the first house in the district, the girls all separated to their respective houses, husbands, and families. All around the village you could hear cries of joy. When he finally arrived back to Tizuna's house, Zabuza immediately spotted the swords. Holy shit brat, where'd you get Neketsu and SH plus Ringu no Ken, Sword of Sealing, from? Those are both Uzumaki clan swords, and both are quite famous. Zabuza exclaimed upon seeing both swords. They were in Gato's vault. Neketsu is rightfully mine seeing as it was my mother's sword, but I won't be using it. I will give it to someone who I claim is worthy, which most likely will be one of my kids in the futures. But SH plus Ringu I am gifting to Haku. Naruto said as he handed the overly sized sword to Haku, who immediately fell to the floor under its weight. Don't worry Haku, I'll teach and condition you on how to use it. After all, can't have my daughter not know how to use one of the most famous swords in the 5 elemental nations, besides those of the 7 swordsmen of the mist that is. You're so damn lucky though. I swear if you misuse it in any way I will hunt you down, daughter or not, Zabuza said with a hint of jealousy and a large amount of pride. I too san, Haku said, getting up and bowing before giving Naruto a hug in thanks, and went back to her sword and tried to pick it up and managed to after some difficulty. Well Naruto, Zabuza-san, Haku-san, time to head back to the leaf. Here Naruto, I packed all your things for you. Jeku said as he came down the stairs and threw Naruto his backpack full of supplies as Zabuza and Haku grabbed theirs from the floor. By the way kid, what's that other sword on your back? Zabuza questioned pointing to the blood-red sword on Naruto's back. Naruto-san, that's Raph's sword. You gained it during the Gato incident. When we get back to the village I want you to go to training ground number 42 and I'll tell you the rest there. Shingo said inside Naruto's head while studying the sword. The blade itself was a normal curved edge and was a blood-red color. It had the kanji for control the rage, rule it, don't let it rule you, that's surprisingly short in kanji, just above the handle. The guard was what looked like golden flames spreading in every direction. The handle had white, orange, light red, red, and dark red in that in order up towards the blade that looked like a slowly growing fire. Something you'll learn about later Zabuza. Oh right, here Haku. Naruto replied as he tossed the Yuki clan Hyoten library towards him and then headed out the door after getting a hug from Tsunami, a crying glomp from Inari, and a handshake from Tizuna. See you guys back at the village. Naruto said to teammate as they left to go back home. Let it be known that later that same day the village aptly named the completed bridge the Great Naruto Bridge to recognize the brave hero that single-handedly destroyed Gato's gang. The next day they found a note in Naruto's room to go to Gato's vault, and when they arrived, they were surprised to find most of the money gone, but the rest that stayed had been over 500 million ryo. Meeting Wrath, Tetsu and Izumo, known as the Eternal Gate Guards, were doing their normal thing. Overall the day had been boring so far. 2 merchants and a civilian wanted to enter the village, the merchants to set up trade and shops, the civilian to move in, and the process was simple. Check their ID, check their forms, have them sign in, and let them move on. So you can bet they were surprised when they saw Team 11, Team 8, Zabuza, and Haku walking towards the gate without a care in the world. Halt. We must check your ID to allow passage. Katetsu shouted out, being the first to get out of his shocked stupor. Team 11 and Team 8 coming back home to report a successful mission. Zabuza and Haku are here to receive citizenship so they may become shinobi of the leave. Kurenai said as she and everyone else quickly showed their IDs and proceeded on without caring. After 30 minutes of walking towards the Hokage Tower, Zabuza and Haku had noticed just 5 minutes into the glares and sneers sent towards Naruto. Suffice to say they were not happy. After having become friends with the boy over the course of the month, they had come to like the boy, Haku in a big sister type of way and Zabuza as an angry but supportive uncle kind of way. After noticing these glares, anyone who had tried to continue to do so, Zabuza swiped his sword at them, while Haku threw senbon towards them. Not hurting them of course, but scaring them enough to stop. After they arrived at the Hokage Tower they walked inside, noticing the 4 civilians inside, giving Naruto more glares and sneers, to which Haku and Zabuza responded by releasing their kai in full force, prompting them to pass out. The group walked up the stairs and stopped at the secretary's desk. After finally noticing them after a moment, the secretary promptly stood up and hugged Naruto tightly. She had been worried for the boy she had grown to like as a little brother or son when he went on to his first C-rank mission. After she let Naruto go, she let them inside the Hokage's office. Once they entered, the Anbu surrounded Zabuza and Haku immediately. Naruto-kun, why are Zabuza the demon of the hidden mist and Haku the ice maiden here? Hiruzen Sarutobi asked, obviously worried for the young Jinchuriki. Hey Jiji, they're here to move into Konoha, they wish to become ninja of our village. Naruto responded, shocking Haku and Zabuza a little from the way that Naruto talked to the Hokage, but after seeing the Hokage's kind smile, they figured it was a normal thing. Oh, okay Naruto-kun, they can join. Zabuza, Haku, you will need to be given a mental and physical evaluation, and then you will be tested for your rank. Hiruzen said, shocking the two even more about how easily he accepted it. Why did you accept us so easily? We're Rougenin yet you don't question about why we're joining. Zabuza asked cautiously. Well you see, I consider Naruto-kun here like my grandson, and if he trusts you enough to bring you here then I trust you too. Now of course you will need somewhere to live, do you have anywhere specific that you might want? Hiruzen asked, kind smile never leaving his face, which visibly and mentally relaxed the two missing nin. If possible, Tusan and I would like to live with or near Naruto-kun, we don't trust any of the others of this village, and we respect Naruto. I would also like to request that I be put onto Team 11 if possible, and Zachan would like to ask if he could continue training Naruto-kun. Haku said, Zachan getting the response she wanted as Zabuza glared at her with his non-existent eyebrow twitching. Alright, all those terms can be accepted. Naruto-kun, you know of your parents, yes? Hiruzen asked. After receiving a hesitant nod from Naruto he continued, well you and your 2 friends here will be moving into your parents' compound then. Do you already know where it is Naruto-kun? He once again questioned, receiving another nod he continued once more, great, show them where it is, and I would be grateful if you could show them around Konoha as well. Now before you leave to go resume your training there is actually a council meeting that we must attend, you are required to be there Naruto-kun, seeing as it is apparently about you. If you, Zabuza, and Haku could follow me please. Hiruzen said, getting curious glances from the 3 people before they followed him outside his office and down the hallway to another door. Once they entered, the first thing they noticed was the half-circle desk in the middle of the room. It had enough room to fit 15 people, there were 10 chairs, each with the symbols for the Nara, Yamanaka, Akimichi, Inuzuka, Kurama, Sarutobi, Hokage, Senju, Uchiha, Aburame, Hibi, and Hyuga clans, the respective leaders in their seats. The Senju and Uchiha seats were empty of course. In the Hibi clan seat was a pale snake-like person with yellow slitted eyes, he wore a brown kimono and wooden sandals, his name was Katsuchi Hibi. The Hibi clan had the poison release and hold the summoning contract of the cobras. Katsuchi Hibi, Yakumo Kurama, Hiyashi Hyuga, Tsuma Yuzuka, Shikaku Nara, Asuma Sarutobi, Chauza Akimichi, Inoichi Yamanaka, and Shibi Aburame were all in their respective seats. Beside the Hokage seat sat Danzo Shimura, Kahara Udatane, and Hamura Midokado, an obvious sign they were the Hokage's advisors. On the opposite side of the room were 20 other seats set in rows of 10. In each seat sat the members of the civilian council. Once Hiruzen sat down in the Hokage seat and Naruto, Zabuza, and Haku were off to the left side leaning on the wall. The meeting started. Naruto Uzumaki, we are here to discuss your possession of a certain set of items. Uchiha-sama has said that you stole the blades on your back. A fat male from the civilian council said as he stood up. Gigi, I have a question. Naruto said, blatantly ignoring the fat man, which seemed to make him angry. What is it, Naruto-kun? Hiruzen questioned. I am a ninja. Sasuke Uchiha is a ninja. The objects I have are for ninjas only, and the subjects we are discussing are ninja-related topics. Since this is so, why is the civilian council here when this is a purely ninja-related topic? Naruto questioned. Hiruzen along with Danzo and other members of the Shinobi Council smiled, seeing as to where this was going. You're right, Naruto-kun, why is the civilian council here? Anbu, escort the civilian council outside please. Hiruzen said as he snapped his finger, prompting the 5 Anbu that were hidden to come out of the shadows and started escorting, shoving the civilian council out the door. The civilian council were shouting and arguing about how they should be there, but were promptly ignored. Once the civilian council was gone, the Anbu locked the door they left out of and went back to hiding. Hiruzen activated the privacy seal on his desk and they proceeded with the discussion. Thank you for that, Naruto-kun. Now on to the meeting. Those who wish for Naruto to give up his possessions to Sasuke Uchiha say aye. Those who wish he doesn't say nay. The olden Hokage said, promptly receiving nays from all and 2 ayes from Himura and Kaharu. Why are you voting Kaharu, Himura? You're advisors, not clan heads or the Hokage. You don't have any power here. You're just here to advise me, Hiruzen said, promptly voiding their votes and angering them, but they stayed silent. Alright everyone, meeting adjourned. Naruto will keep his swords, and from now on, no matter what the civilian council does, if it pertains to shinobi matters, ignore any and all meetings set up by them. Have a good day. Hiruzen said as he and the other clan heads left while Naruto, Zabuza and Haku left. Well, that was a short meeting, Zabuza said when they reached outside. Naruto took out a piece of paper and wrote instructions on it that lead to Naruto's family compound. Naruto then proceeded to walk to training ground number 42. 20 minutes of roof and tree hopping later, Naruto arrived to training ground number 42 unaffected by the long run and landed in the middle of the plains. Alright Kyuubi-sama, Shingo sensei, I'm here. Naruto thought, waking up Kyuubi and Shingo. Alright kid, there are 3 things we need to discuss. The first thing is your Jujutsu that you unlocked. You can name it whatever you want, seeing as we couldn't think of a name. Kyuubi said, gaining Naruto's attention. I have a Jujutsu. But I'm not part of a clan. Naruto said as he sat down in the lotus position. Correct, Shingo and I started messing with your DNA when we first started training you so that you could have one that we created. We finished it about a month ago and we're waiting for you to unlock it. There are 3 levels that you can currently achieve. You have already unlocked the first level. After you unlock the 3rd level, there is a 4th level that when you do unlock it will allow you to unlock the next and final 3 levels. The first level allows you to see chakra flow and can follow movement and predict moves like the Sharingan, except to a lesser level. The Sharingan can predict moves before they happen by watching the muscles on someone or something's body. Your Jujutsu does the same, but to a lesser degree, you will be able to predict only 1 second into the move, while the Sharingan can do it before the enemy even knows they're moving. Things will also be moving slower for you while it's active. We will tell you about the other levels when you unlock them. I will tell you about the 2nd level now, seeing as you're going to unlock it sometime this or next week. The 2nd level allows you to use any sub-elements that you see by analyzing the chakra that's used. This doesn't mean you automatically can use sub-elements, you actually have to see the sub-element in order to use it. Its other ability is that it allows you to use a greater degree of chakra control. It doesn't give you perfect chakra control, but it will boost your current chakra control. Meaning you will still have to train in it once you reach the 2nd level. Kyuubi explained. Naruto went to the lake nearby after hearing his discussion and looked into its surface. He sent chakra into his eyes. What he saw in response both shocked and excited him. Instead of his normal bright baby blue eyes were demonic-looking eyes. The whites of his eyes were pitch black, the irises themselves were also pitch black, but had a white outline in the circle of it. Instead of a pupil there was a small red dot inside the middle of the iris. There was a white line that went from the small dot to the end of the iris, it pointed straight up. To the right of it was another white line, except it stopped halfway. How do I get the 4th level? Naruto questioned. You unlock the 4th level like the Mangekyo Sharingan except to a worse degree. Instead of experiencing a life or death situation or extreme sadness, you have to physically die and come back. Besides, I wouldn't worry about getting the 4th level since you can't unlock it until you get the first 3. Shingo explained. Wait, so I have to physically die and come back in order to unlock it? Naruto asked worriedly. Yes, but don't worry kid, you've already died plenty of times, remember. Besides, with my healing factor combined with yours, the only way you could die and not come back is by either cutting off your own head, extreme blood loss, or your brain exploding. Doesn't matter if only part of your brain explodes or your heart is physically removed from your chest, our insane healing factors combined could regenerate them shortly afterwards. Hell, I don't think even cutting off your head could actually kill you, Kyuubi said, admonishing and relieving Naruto of his worries. What was the second thing we had to talk about? Naruto questioned as he calmed himself down. It's about those scrolls you found. I'll tell you right now, the Uzumaki one isn't the full library, it's probably just a few that were found and salvaged. I know for a fact that Yuzurishi Ogakure has a hidden library somewhere in it and only a main branch member of the Uzumaki clan can enter it. And right now you're the only main branch member alive. Kyuubi said. So we're going to have to go to Yuzurishi Ogakure at some point then. Naruto said. Yep. Kyuubi replied. Alright then, what's the last thing? Naruto questioned. Well, Naruto-san, it's about Wrath's sword. We're going to summon her. After she meets me she will readily accept and we can begin your training in Untun and her and my sword styles. Summon me first, Naruto-san, and we can begin. Shingo said, to which Naruto readily did and summoned him without a problem. Alright, Naruto-san, the first thing you need to do is stab your hand all the way through with Wrath's sword. A seal should appear on your hand, you will need to channel chakra into it and she will be summoned and at no point should you remove the sword from your hand until we're done and the deal is accepted. Understood. Shingo said. Naruto nodded and proceeded to draw Wrath's sword and stabbed his hand all the way through, pinning it to the ground below. Once he did so, a dark marking appeared on his hand around where the sword was. It looked like a small ink blot that resembled a butterfly, except more violent. Naruto then channeled chakra into it for 10 minutes before a loud popping sound was heard and smoke appeared. When the smoke cleared, Naruto was surprised to see a small creature at about 5'6" in front of him. It was floating above the ground by a few inches and its arms and legs were made out of fire. Its torso and head were made out of molten rock and in its eye sockets were white flames where the eyes were supposed to be. Who dares to summon me? It questioned in a feminine voice which seemed strangely out of place. Hello Jakito, it's nice to see you again. Shingo said to the creature. Shingo? If you're here then this means the boy in front of me is our new summoner then. The creature said before it started morphing. Where it once stood was now 5'8" female. She had blood-red eyes and instead of normal circular pupils were instead flame-like shaped pupils. She looked to have a face that others would consider hot. She had hair that started white, then alternated from white to blue to light orange to light red to dark red along its length. It stopped just past her hips. She had an hourglass figure and small C-cup breasts. She wore a dark red battle kimono with one of her arms free, showcasing her dark red bra, but she didn't seem to care. All along the kimono you could see illustrations of flames. She had on regular brown sandals. Naruto blushed slightly seeing her state of dress, but quickly got over it. Hey kid, I'm Jakito, I'm not that surprised that I was brought forth first. Rage, hate and anger are the easiest emotions to experience and be influenced by. Well, I'll accept the same conditions as Shingo did, seeing as I have nothing better to do and have been bored for a long time now. She said as she studied the boy and found that she liked what she saw. Wait, how did you already know about me? Naruto questioned. All the sins share a slight mental link, we don't share thoughts like you, me, and the rest of the sins will, but if we consider something of importance and will it to be shared the other sins will get the thought too. Anyway, I'll start teaching you my sword style and some of its abilities later, for now, see you in your mindscape kid. She said as she promptly disappeared and the markings on Naruto's hand disappeared. Naruto pulled the sword out and his hand started healing immediately, it looked as if it was healing faster than normal, but he would question about it later. Alright Naruto-san, for now let's practice your Untun sub-element. Grab the scroll and put some chakra of all three of your elements into it. Shingo said. Naruto did as he said after he placed Jakito onto his back. Once it finally opened, both were surprised to see that there were only 2 chakra control techniques for it and only 5 jutsu to learn. Looks like you'll have to create some of your own Untun techniques, Naruto-san. For now create 20 clones and have half of them practice the first chakra control exercise and the other half try to learn the first jutsu, which appears to be Untun. Kumotsu Haizu, Cloud Release. Cloudy Haze, according to the scroll. This jutsu create a large cloud that covers the battlefield and you're able to control anything within it. Says here if you channel different chakra natures into it, different things will happen. For example, putting Raiten chakra into it will create a thunderstorm that will cook and electrocute those inside of it. The size of the cloud depends on how much chakra you put into it. Well, get to work Naruto-san. Shingo said excitedly as Naruto begun to practice after creating the clones. 8 hours later, Naruto had left the training field tiredly after finishing his Untun chakra control exercises. He had been able to perform Untun Kumotsu Haizu by the end of the day, but because he couldn't properly control his Untun chakra properly, he could only create a small cloud and he would be extremely tired afterwards. Naruto turned to his left and arrived at his compound. It was a medium-sized compound that only had one building in it, but there was enough room to build 4 other medium-sized buildings if he so wished. There was a well-sized garden that had been tended to by Haku, he guessed, recently. The building that was his home was a decent-sized 2-story house with a basement. On the first floor there was a medium-sized living room that had 2 red couches and 1 chair seated in front of a fireplace, a black wooden coffee table separating the two. There was also a decent-sized kitchen, with the normal appliances next to the living room. There was a bathroom to the left of the front door, and next to it was another door that he guessed led to a closet. There was also a regular wooden dining table to the left of the kitchen that looked to be able to fit 6 to 7 people in between the kitchen and the stairs that led to the second floor. On the second floor there was 4 medium-sized bedrooms and 1 master bedroom. All of them had been cleared out, he guessed, when his parents had died. He was right, but the Hokage had refurbished each room once he had left for his mission to Wave. There were also 2 bathrooms on the second floor. There were stairs on the first floor right next to the ones that led to the second floor. These stairs went down into the basement. It had a blood seal on the handle that looked to only be able to be activated by someone who was related to the 2 previous owners, to which Naruto was. Naruto could hear water running from upstairs, and Zabuza was sitting on the couch, reading what looked to be a book on other types of kenjutsu styles that involved zambatos. He was reading it because it was the style the Haku had wanted to learn when they went to the library earlier today to find a style for her to work with. On the front of the book it read Wild White Wolf Kenjutsu Style. Naruto greeted Zabuza tiredly and went upstairs to the master bedroom at the end of the hallway. Inside he found there were 2 doors, one led to his own bathroom and the other led to a closet. In the middle of the room was a king-sized bed with a red fur blanket on it. To the left of the bed was a dresser that was probably empty, seeing as he hadn't gone to his old apartment yet to gather his things. Naruto limped tiredly to his bed, threw off his shirt and swords, and promptly passed out from chakra exhaustion and a weary body. Apparently Anton jutsu and chakra control exercises require a lot of chakra if you didn't have proper control with the other 3 required elements of Anton. 4th C rank and beginning of Chunin exams. It has been a little over 3 months since Naruto's first C rank mission. He was allowed to do C ranks after that and did 3 more. He's currently on his way to get his 4th. Over the 3 months he has been training non-stop. During the second month Zabuza added Haku to his training sessions, and Naruto still didn't trust Zabuza or Haku enough to allow them to see Shingo, so he just listened to the directions he was given inside his head. He also learned Jakito's real name, which was Kuromi. Naruto did more of his Anton, cloud release, chakra control exercises, and can now use Anton. Kumotsu Haizu, cloud release. Cloudy haze, particularly well. He can make a decent-sized cloud the size of the lake at training ground number 42, and if he focused could make it as large as the Hokage tower is tall. He began working on the second jutsu, which was Anton. Kumosupia, cloud release. Cloud spear, which created a small spear out of clouds. It would then impale its target, and depending on which type of chakra nature you put into it would do different things. If you put Kaiten, fire release, chakra into it, then it would slowly evaporate the target until nothing was left. If you put Fuiten, wind release, chakra into it, then it would forcibly explode wherever it landed. If you put Suiton, water release, chakra into it, then it would flood the target's body with water until it started pouring out of every opening on the target's body there was. Naruto didn't particularly like this method, but resolved to only use it against those who truly deserved it. Naruto hasn't tried using any other chakras because he wanted to learn and master them first, and he knew that since he doesn't have affinities for them, it would take a while. He also named his new Dojutsu Akuma no Mi, Demon's Eye, and he also got the 2nd level for it and has the 3rd close to being fully unlocked. He also learned 2 more Suiton Jutsu, 1 more Kaiten Jutsu, and created his own Fuiten Jutsu during this time. I'm not going to tell you their names, it'd be better if they were surprises. He also requested during the 2nd month of training something that the demons found slightly weird. Flashback. Senseis, can you teach me violin? Naruto questioned, confusing the 3 in his head. Why do you want to learn violin, kid? Kyuubi questioned, thoroughly confused. Well, you know how everyone has their coping methods for killing. Jacu Sensei has his sword collection. Kurenai-san told me hers was flower collecting and arranging, so I want my method to be music, specifically violin. Naruto said. He was extremely sad and depressed the week he came back. He was so disturbed by what he did after he got his first kill and had to take major convincing during that week from Kuromi, Shingo, and Kyuubi. After they finally got through to him he went back to training, but they knew he never really was the same. Well, if that's the case then I'll teach you, kid. Kuromi said. Really great. When can we start? Naruto asked, excited. We can start once you actually buy a violin. She replied, gaining a nod from the boy, and they resumed his training. Flashback end. After that he readily bought a violin and Kuromi started teaching him how to play it. She had him put a few strengthening seals on it so that it wouldn't break easily and even taught him how to cast genjutsu with it since with his massive reserves he couldn't create them without a catalyst. He's still practicing it even now. After a while Haku was allowed onto his team too and they started doing missions together. Naruto was snapped out of his thoughts when he arrived at the Hokage's tower and he headed upstairs to his office. Once again saying hello to the secretary which he received a readily hello Naruto-kun back. After the incident where she hugged him he started learning more about her. He found out her name was Tatsuki Narama. She started treating him like her own son, she informed him how she knew his burden and didn't care, in fact she respected him for it since, as she put it, he was holding the beast that destroyed her family back after that they became like family and on a few occasions offered to adopt him. Of course this was turned down because of the civilian council, but Naruto was working on a solution. He also learned she used to be in the Anbu, she was formerly the second in command of the Anbu, but had quit because she lost her son and husband. Naruto headed in and was greeted by the sight of Zabuza, Haku, and Jeku standing in a line in front of Hiruzen. Naruto joined them and started the briefing. Alright Team 11, your mission this time is to scout out and explore one of Orochimaru's bases that we found inside of training ground number 44. You are to take or destroy any research you find and if you find any survivors you are to bring them here. If at any point you are met with heavy resistance or Orochimaru at any point you are to try and escape. Do you accept this mission? Naruto was a little hesitant since he had died there before and didn't want to experience it again, but accepted nonetheless. Alright then, you are to leave later today, this mission is a one-day mission, so if you do not come back in 24 hours, then we will send Anbu for you. Excused. Hiruzen said, to which Team 11 replied by bowing and leaving via the door. 1 hour later, Team 11 arrived to the base in an hour, not seeing the need to pack, and they headed inside. They were met with an extremely long hallway that occasionally split off but continued nonetheless, all along the hallway were doors and seals that provided light. Naruto created a little over 100 clones, and the clones spread out. Going into every door and outcropping there was. A little after 30 minutes one of the clones dispelled themselves, and Naruto received the information. One of my clones found a possible survivor, let's go. Naruto said, and they all raced off down the hallways. They arrived to their destination and followed Naruto. It was a fairly long room and lined up along the walls were green tubes with dead bodies and other assortment of things that they couldn't make out. They stopped in front of one of the tubes that had a live person. Naruto pulled out his sword just in case. He read the plaque in front of him. Subject number 2,817,772. Failure but possible success in the future. Subject number 2,817,772 aka Kira placed in temporary suspension until a later time. After reading this he studied the inside. Inside the tub was a pale girl with the same markings under her eyes as Orochimaru's. She wore the same clothes as he did and Naruto would have thought it was Orochimaru himself if he hadn't noticed her feminine face or her assets as he so put it. After studying her for a second he added chakra to a seal that said release on it and slowly the green fluids were drained out and it opened. She immediately opened her eyes and tackled Naruto. She bit his neck thinking she had killed him but was surprised when something bit her back. She studied what it was and was slightly surprised to find that 1. His skin wasn't pale like Orochimaru's, 2. There was a mouth with jagged teeth on his neck, looking like it was ready to chomp her head off, but something was holding it back, and finally 3. There was a massive purple sword at her throat, ready to cut her head off. She slowly got off of him and stood up, as did the person she was on top of. Sorry, you can't bite me because as you can see, I bite back. The corpse in front of her said. After she studied his features she blushed a bit but quickly left that out. Corpse-san, where are we and who are you? Kira questioned as she studied him for a little, while making him blush slightly, even more so when she licked her lips with her snake-like tongue. Well I'm certainly not a corpse, but you are in one of Orochimaru's labs that we found in the Forest of Death. I'm Naruto Uzumaki and I'm here to get you out and take you to my village so you can be safe from him. Naruto replied. Core Naruto-san, I'm afraid I cannot go back to your village with you. Kira said. And why is that? Zabuza asked. Well I am a cannibal, Orochi team messed with my genes and made it so that I would eat people because he thought that it would make me a better killer and would help to get rid of evidence. The second would be that I highly doubt that your village would like to have Orochi team's technical daughter inside their village. Besides, I want to find and kill or eat that bastard for doing this to me. He had me eat my best friend. Do you know how that feels to eat your own best friend? It's terrible. She ranted as small tears threatened to spill out of the side of her eyes. She was slightly surprised when Naruto moved to hug her. I don't care if you're a cannibal, it doesn't change who you are. To me it doesn't matter if you're technically Orochi team's daughter, it doesn't matter, besides if anyone tried to do anything to you, I will thoroughly chop them up for you to eat personally. I'll help you find and kill Orochi team, but you won't find him regardless if you're just wandering aimlessly trying to find one person and a billion different people," Naruto said. As he finished he noticed that her tears were staining his neck where she put her head. After she calmed down they resumed what they were doing. "Alright Kira-san, let's head back to the village, my clones are done and we have a few things to do now," he said. Kira latched onto his arm and they exited the base. "Shingo sensei, what was that mouth that appeared on my neck?" "It's an ability you unlocked a while ago, it never appeared until now because no one had got a hit on you with the intent to kill. It's like a perfect defense, its only drawback is that it's only active when you're holding onto my sword. Kuromi-chan's sword has one too, but I don't know what it does," Shingo explained, getting a nod from Naruto, and he once again headed off. 1 hour later, and that's what happened Jiji. Naruto had just finished explaining the new addition and that there were only a few research notes on the curse seal mark that they had found on Anko Mitarashi. She was in the office with them. After noticing her original term of dress he blushed slightly but quickly frothed. "Corp-san, I request being put on Naruto-san's team," Kira said. Sure I'll allow it, you will still need a physical and mental examination, is that okay?" Hiruzen said, but got a reply from Naruto instead of Kira. "Gigi, I'll tell you right now that Kira-chan is a cannibal thanks to Orochi team, she also hates him with a passion because of something I'm not at liberty to tell you. Also, take my word for it that you don't want to do either exam unless you wish to lose a few people. I'm perfectly fine with having her on my team, besides, she promised me earlier that she won't eat anyone unless I say she can, one of which I said she was allowed to eat my enemies," Naruto said getting a shocked look from Hiruzen, but Hiruzen relented and allowed her to join without either exam. She also requested to live with Naruto, and he allowed this, and so did Naruto. Hiruzen was sure he was going to get flack from the civilian council, but he didn't care, he was glad his surrogate grandson had another friend and one who would defend him with her everything. 10 minutes after leaving the tower, heading toward Naruto's house with Haku, Kira, and Zabuza. Kira had noticed the glares and sneers Naruto was getting and the lust-filled look she was getting, and she had to say she was thoroughly pissed. After walking for a little while she was grabbed by the wrist and turned around. In front of her was a fat civilian with brown hair. "Why are you following the demon brat? He'll kill you. Besides, he and his little demon whore and demon uncle will just use you. Why don't you just come with me and I'll protect you," the fat civilian said while staring more at her assets than her face. "Corp-san, I would appreciate it if you let me go before I eat you," Kira replied making the civilian stare at her with rage evident. "What? I try to save you and you treat me like this?" he asked tightening his grip, but she didn't flinch. At this point Naruto, Zabuza, and Haku walked up to him. Naruto decided to put on an act that he thought would be funny. Nah, fatty-san, can we play?" Naruto said while drawing Ukui and placing it in front of him and activating it. Spooking the man enough to let go of her wrist. "What's wrong fatty-san? You wanted to play with my friend, why can't I play too?" Naruto asked, laughing his head off inside of his head, joined in by Kuromi, Shingo, and Kyuubi laughing too. "I knew you were insane. Fuck this. I'm out," the civilian said as he jetted away. The group, besides Kira, started laughing their heads off while Kira stared at Naruto with admiration and respect. She blushed slightly but let it slide. They continued on their way before a kid darted past them and turned right. They heard him ram into something and yelling. They followed where he went and walked into this scene. The kid with a scarf was being held up by his scarf by someone wearing a black cat suit that had a bundle of bandages on his back, while a girl with 4 ponytails and a giant black metal stick was on her back. "Maybe you should put him down," Naruto said as he walked up towards them, Team 11 shortly behind him. "Why should I? This little brat rammed into and didn't even apologize," the man in the cat suit shouted. "Alright then, kid." Naruto got the boy's attention. "Apologize and get lost," Naruto said, which the kid complied and did so, was then let go and he darted away. "Alright Mr. Cat Person," he apologized, "now be on your way," he said, making the catman's eyebrow twitch slightly and the girl to giggle slightly. "The name's Kankuro, you bastard." "Fine if that's how you want to play it," the now identified Kankuro shouted as he took the bundle off his back. Oi Kankuro, you can't be thinking of using crow here are you?" the girl said exasperatedly. "Shut it Tamari. This bastard pissed me off," Kankuro replied. The girl shook her head and watched. "Nah, Shingo sensei, think you can make one of your mouths appear where mine is when I say so I can spook him?" Naruto thought, getting a yes in response. "I was hoping you'd want to fight," Naruto said, drawing Ukui. Naruto thought now, and on that signal his mouth disappeared and was replaced with a mouth with jagged teeth darting in every direction and a long demonic tongue sticking out the side, spooking Kankuro and Tamari as he released some of his killing intent. What the fuck are you?" Kankuro questioned, getting 4 responses from Naruto's team. "The cannibal who loves to eat people for fun," Kira said. "A demon of the bloody mist whose worst fear is the person you're yelling at. I'm also his uncle father," Zabuza said. The Ice Maiden, big sister to the boy you're yelling at, who also happens to be my worst fear as well. Haku said. Someone who has died more times than you can count, Jinchuriki to Kyuubi no Kitsune, whom I'm on friendly terms with, container for 2 more demons who are sealed inside of the swords I possess and plan on getting 5 more, and your worst nightmare, Naruto said, making Kankuro immediately regret what he was planning to do, while Temari looked on in awe to the group in front of them. Boy, redhead, come out of the tree. Naruto said, making the 2 in front of him jump in fear. Sasuke jumped out and was about to reply when he heard a voice behind him from the same tree. Kankuro, you're a disappointment to the village, the now identified Rikid said. Does everyone from Suna carry something on their back? Naruto thought, making his tenant snicker. Gee, Gaara. I'm Kankuro was cut off by the now identified Gaara. Shut up or I'll kill you, Gaara said to Kankuro as he arrived to the group and turned towards Naruto. You're the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune? Gaara questioned. Yes, why? Naruto asked. What's your name? Gaara asked, ignoring his question. It's customary to give your name first before asking someone for theirs. Naruto replied. My name is Gaara no Sabaku, Gaara replied. Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto said back. Mother wants your blood, but she's telling me to be cautious of you. I'll see you in the exams, Naruto-san, Gaara said, getting shocked looks from his apparent teammates. Be cautious of him. But Gaara was never told to be cautious of anyone, even the Kage of our village. This guy means trouble. They both thought before Gaara started walking away. Wait, don't you want to know my name? Sasuke asked, obviously peeved about being forgotten. He was ignored however, as the Sand team walked away, as did Team 11. He stomped off in anger towards his compound. The next day, the academy, Naruto arrived with his team of Haku and Kira relatively refreshed. He got some good training, and he was told he was accepted into the Chunin exams yesterday, to which he was told started today at the academy. As they headed inside, they arrived at the 2nd floor and heard yelling. When he turned to the commotion, he saw Tenten and some guy in green spandex trying to get into the classroom that obviously had a genjutsu on it. He stood long enough for them and a few others to notice them and walked off towards the actual 3rd floor. A few followed him, including Tenten's team. They arrived at the real classroom 301 and headed inside. They immediately met with the sight of Zabuza and Jeku in front of them. Hey brats, glad you made it. See you at the end of the 2nd portion. Zabuza said before disappearing in a mist shunshin, body flicker, and Jeku started talking. But to see all of you made it, if it was just 1 or 2 of you, then you would have been kicked out. Good luck you guys, though I know you don't need it. Jeku said before disappearing in a shunshin of leaves. Team 11 walked in and were met with a heavy kai, but they weren't affected. Really? This is it? Kira, Haku, if you would please, I don't feel like bothering with these weaklings, Naruto said, getting angry glares from those in the classroom. Before they felt the full force of kai from Haku and Kira, most of them dropped to their knees except for the Suna team, 2 teams from Kumo, and a person from Taki. Whoa, if that's his teammates, then what kind of monster is he if he can command them as he pleases? They collectively thought. Naruto and his team walked to the back of the classroom and sat in their seats. When they waited for a while, a large commotion started up at the front of the classroom. The rookie 12 were talking loudly, so Naruto went down towards them to shut them up. As he arrived, a silver-haired genin from Konoha had just finished talking. Okay then, give me info on Gaara no Sabaku, Rock Lee, and Naruto Uzumaki. Sasuke said. Oh, you know their names, that's no fun. Alright then. First, Gaara no Sabaku. That's odd, it doesn't list his skills. Says here he's been on 1 A rank, 3 B ranks, 24 C ranks and no D rank missions. Says here he hasn't even got a scratch from any of them. Teammates are Temari no Sabaku and Kankuro no Sabaku, they're also listed as his siblings. The silver-haired finished getting shocked looks from all except Naruto. Next, Rock Lee, he has completed 12 C rank missions and 85 D rank missions, no skills in Genjutsu, Kenjutsu or Ninjutsu, says he has a deformity which makes his chakra coils excessively small, so he can't use chakra. His Shuriken Jutsu is at high Gen and low Chunin levels. Whoa, says his Taijutsu is at high Chunin to low Jonin level. His teammates are Tenten, also known as Konoha's weapon mistress in training, and Niji Hyuga, last year's rookie of the year and known as the Hyuga clan's prodigy. Kabuto finished, Naruto asked who he was while he was talking. And finally, Naruto Uzumaki says he's completed 1 A rank mission, 4 C rank missions, and 68 D rank missions. Says he can't use Genjutsu because his chakra is at least Kage level, so his control is shot, so he uses a violin as a catalyst. His Kenjutsu is at high Chunin low Jonin level, Ninjutsu is at low Jonin to high Jonin level, Shuriken Jutsu is at high Genin to low Chunin level. Says he passed the academy flawlessly, but because of certain conditions that I don't know about he didn't become rookie of the year. Also says he has the summoning contract of the 7 sins. He has 2 of the 7 swords of the sins, and he is also the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune. Says he also has the ability of Untun, Cloud Release, which is a combination of Kaiten, Suiton, and Fuiton. He also has a Dijutsu called Akuma no Mi, Demon's Eye, what it does isn't listed. Kabuto said, thoroughly freaking out everyone there before Naruto took out his sword gaining everyone's attention. Mesm. Lukui, awaken. Gluttony, he said, his sword springing to life scaring everyone there. He then shoved it into Kabuto and it started to devour him, scaring everyone even more. Then a large puff of smoke appeared at the front desk. Alright quite brats. Naruto, why are you killing people already? Ibiki questioned. Ibiki and Naruto quickly became friends when Naruto one day decided to torture someone who had broken into his house. Ibiki arrived and allowed him to continue, giving him tips from time to time. He didn't stop him because since Naruto is a ninja there was a shinobi law that stated that if anyone that you do not allow onto your estate or place of residence has broken in with evil intent, you are allowed to do as you wish with them. He was handing out classified S-rank information like it was candy. Naruto replied, getting a nod for Ibiki. Alright then, who were his teammates? Ibiki questioned, 2 hands went up. You failed the exam, get out. Ibiki said, shouting the last part as loudly as he could. They left and he resumed. Alright, come here and get your assigned number. This is a written test. There are 3 rules. You may not cheat. Each time you cheat you lose 2 points. Each of you starts out with 10 points. This is also a team exercise, so if one of you fails your whole team fails. You can quit at any time you want. And lastly, there is a 10th question at the end, so if you don't quit you will still have to answer that question. You have 50 minutes for this test, the last 10 minutes will be for the 10th question. Ibiki said, getting groans from Naruto and some other genin. After getting their numbers and sitting down the papers were passed out. Naruto noticed he was seated between a girl with green hair who had a big red cylinder next to her and a black man with gold hair and 7 red swords on his back. Kyuubi said they seemed familiar until Shingo said that they had Yaki inside of them, meaning they had demons sealed inside of them, and the only ones who had demons sealed inside of them were Jinchuriki. Hello brother, sister, seems we have something in common sealed inside of us. Naruto said low so no one could hear him. He got a gasp from the girl and a smirk from the boy. Which number are you brother? I hope we don't fight cause I don't want to die tonight and neither do you fool, you fool. The male said in a sing-song voice. As you already know I am 9. Which are you guys? Naruto asked. 7. The girl said. 8, fool, you fool. The boy said. Seems we were meant to meet if our numbers meant anything. Naruto chuckled gaining a smile and another smirk before they were interrupted. Again. Ibiki all but shouted. Immediately Naruto noticed from the test that the questions were much too hard for genin to answer. Naruto searched around and noticed a few others that were writing the answers down easily. He found after a few more minutes of studying that the test was information gathering, meaning he had to cheat. He got the answers for the questions from the tenants inside his head and immediately wrote them down. For the rest of the test he just sat back and relaxed. The 2 on his sides noticed so the girl sent a bug out since apparently her tenant wouldn't help her, while the boy just wrote down the answers like they were nothing. After the allotted time passed Ibiki called out for them to stop. Alright brats, it's time for the 10th question. First thing, you can choose to take this question. If you choose not to, you and your team will leave and take it next year. If you choose to take it then just stay here. Wait, why would you give us a choice then? One random genin asked. Because if you choose to take the question and answer it wrong, then you will fail and lose the ability to take the Chunin exams ever again. Meaning that you will never become Chunin. Ibiki said getting shouts from the genin. What? You can't do that. One of them shouted aloud. Actually I can. Now shut up. Ibiki shouted back. But there are people who have taken this test a lot of times. Another shouted, this one had a dog on his head. Yeah well they didn't have me as a proctor. Ibiki shouted back silencing them. Over the course of 20 minutes more and more genin left, Ibiki giving more taunts and threats from time to time making even more leave until Naruto got bored and noted there were 25 teams left. Alright Ibiki, you can stop with the mental torture now, if you keep going there won't be any teams left and that'll be boring Naruto said, making Ibiki nod and everyone else calm down. Alright then Naruto, for all of you left you pass. Ibiki shouted making them all start yelling again. They were quickly silenced when a blur came crashing through the windows and 2 kunai shot upward, pinning a poster that said the sexy and single Anko Mitarashi on it making the other sweat drop. Whoa Ibiki, there's a lot less than before, seems you still got the touch old man. Anko said, noting that Naruto and his team were still there, meaning the second part was going to get interesting. Yeah well, more would have quit if Naruto didn't talk, but he was right, if more left the second part would be boring and you wouldn't have anyone left for your part. Ibiki said back, getting a nod from Anko. Alright brats, go to training ground number 44, those who don't make it fail before the test even starts, you have 15 minutes to get there. she said before crashing out another window next to the first, making the others sweat drop again. That seems like fun. Naruto said, jumping through the window next to the second hole, making another hole in another window. His teammate shrugged and jumped out two other windows that were perfectly fine before they launched through them. Everyone else sweat dropped again before rushing out the room to look for training ground number 44. Chunin exams part 2. Alright brats. Time for the second exam. Now for this exam you will need 2 scrolls. The Heaven and Earth scrolls. Each team will be given one of these scrolls, meaning you will die or, at a lesser extent, get hurt. The rules are like this. The first being you need both scrolls. The second being you are not allowed to open either scroll until otherwise. Lastly, you will have 5 days to reach the tower in the middle. Now I welcome you to my personal playground and home. The Forest of Death. Anko said, dramatically making the others fearful. After all, something doesn't get death in its name unless something happened or other circumstances. After Anko's little speech, you could hear loud growling and animal noises coming from the forest. Ah, the Forest of Death brings back memories. This was the place where I died for the 3rd time. Good times, good times. Naruto said aloud, getting incredulous looks from the 20 teams that had made it and curious looks from his teammates. What do you mean, Gaki? Anko questioned. Like I said, this was the place where I died for the 3rd time. I believe I was 5 or 6 at the time, can't remember. I was treated like shit from the villagers and they actually killed me a few times before and after I died here. If it wasn't for my insane healing factor that doesn't let me die unless you crush my brain completely and scatter the remains or old age, then I wouldn't be here today. Naruto explained, getting fearful looks from everyone except Anko, Kira, Haku, and Sasuke. He had basically just said that you couldn't kill him unless you squashed his brain to particles, and even then he probably still wouldn't die. Should be easy enough, Naruto said, making Anko angry. She threw a kunai towards him to nick his cheek, but didn't notice Naruto was touching Lukui on the blade. The others watched in awe as a mouth with jagged teeth sprouted out of his cheek, grabbing the kunai from the air. They were even more surprised when another mouth appeared, grabbing the kunai that Anko had tried to slice his throat with to scare him. Emphasis on the tried. All while Naruto just looked on like he was bored out of his mind. It took him a few seconds to notice the kunai and Anko. Oh, sorry, didn't notice you. Also, I forgot to tell you at the Hokage's office, but I can get rid of your burden if you want me to. It will just hurt like fuck though. Naruto said as he took the kunai from his cheek and walked back a few feet so that the kunai at his throat wasn't there anymore. Anko looked shocked at him, then rushed towards him and hugged him. Please, please, please get this fucking thing off me. I'll do anything, I'll become your maid, your servant, your cum dump, just get it off. She yelled aloud, pleadingly, getting blushed looks from Naruto and the other genin. Thanks for the offers, but there's no need, I will gladly get it off of you for free. Naruto said. Anko hugged tighter while saying thank you over and over. They stayed like that for a few seconds before she pulled back. When can you get rid of it? She asked hopefully. Anytime you want after this test. He said seriously. Alright then, see you after the exam. To the rest of you, please sign the waivers that are being handed out. It states that if you die, Konoha, and most importantly me, will not be held responsible. After you're done filling them out, head over to the tent to get your scroll. She said, wiping the tears from her face and heading to the tent. Over the course of 10 minutes everyone got their scrolls. Haku immediately handed their heaven scroll to Naruto, who handed it to Kira, who swallowed it whole. They then went to gate 11, like their team number, and started planning. Alright, here's the plan, after the signal we will wait for a short while after we enter, so that others can't target us first. Then we will head out and search for an earth scroll. If we get one, then we head to the tower immediately. If we don't, then we will camp around the tower attacking other teams to get one. After we do, ignore everyone else. If someone proves too strong, which I doubt, we will immediately retreat. Agreed. Naruto explained. Agreed. Were the responses he got from his teammates. After another 5 minutes of waiting, Anko shouted begin. And the gates flew open. They immediately enacted their plan and waited. After hearing the screams start and stop, they headed off. They were soon met by a team from Kurigakure. The 2 males in the group had the standard uniform of Kurigakure, black torrent pants and a black shirt. They had their headbands on their foreheads. The girl wore similar attire but had her headband on her waist, sewed into her shirt. Alright guys, looks like we got an easy one. The first male shouted, getting smirks from the other 2. Naruto-san, is it alright if I take them out alone? I wish to show you how skilled I am. Kira said, getting a nod from Naruto. She stepped forward and prepared herself. Look at this, looks like we got a looker. Perhaps after this we can get some fun. I'll save the guy for you to enjoy, Nori. The male said to his teammates, getting lust-filled looks from them. Unfortunately for you, that won't be happening anytime soon, Kira said before she started making hand signs. Okuten. Gyurakuhizu, poison release. black haze, Kira said. Immediately a black mist came shooting out of her mouth and into the arrogant male. He fell to the ground instantly, convulsing and bleeding from the eyes. His face etched into a silent scream as he stopped convulsing and his heart stopped. What did you do to him? His teammates yelled in unison. A ninja does not reveal their secrets. She replied, getting a nod from Haku and Naruto. Then she started more hand signs. Okuten. Imikjine, poison release. Melting apparition, she said aloud. She opened her mouth and out came a mixture of yellow and red, which turned into the figure of a large Oni mask that shot forward and engulfed the two. Though you couldn't see them, you could hear their screams of pain and gurgling for a few seconds before the mist dissipated. When it did, the two were nowhere to be seen. What did you do to them? I would like to know your skills for future purposes. Naruto said, walking up to her. Well, Dokuten. Gyrakuhizu creates a poison. I created that when it comes into skin contact, it attacks your nerve systems and pain receptors, making you experience the worst pain possible. While it does this, it also attacks the heart, making it pump 10 times more blood, making it overload your body. It focuses more blood to their eyes, so that it causes even more pain. Then when their heart finally melts, the poison stops its purpose and leaves the corpse for me to eat. I use it whenever I'm hungry or when I'm bored and want a meal. The second move, Dokuten. Imikjine consumes your body entirely and melts your skin, muscles, organs, and bones quickly. It also makes you experience your worst fear and the type of death you fear most during this process. To them it feels like hours or days of it, but in reality is just a few seconds. She explained. Naruto then went forward and searched the only body left. Luckily it was an earth scroll, so they headed out towards the tower. On the way they heard screaming and decided to check it out, coming upon the scene of sand receding from the bodies of 3 dead ninja and the Redeed they met before, searching through the bodies while the sand receded into the gourd on his back. They knew he noticed them, but he didn't care. Team 11 shot off towards the tower and arrived just under 2 hours later. They went inside and before they could read the plaque, Naruto somehow already knew what to do. He asked for the heaven scroll and Kira gave it to him, no questions asked. He opened both of them and threw them on the ground in an X shape. Zabuza appeared and started talking. Well then, I can honestly say I'm not surprised you guys got here so quickly. Anyway, I was supposed to explain the scrolls and plaque to you, but I'm not even going to bother since you're just going to ignore me about it. So go ahead through the door under it and relax. See you in a few days. Zabuza said as he disappeared in another poof of smoke. They walked through the door and arrived into the mess hall. A medic showed up and asked if they had any injuries. Naruto said no, and the same medic guided them to the rooms and told them that they were free to do what they wanted, but if they left the tower, then they were disqualified. 5 days later, over the course of 5 days, Naruto and his team just kept to themselves. Talking only amongst themselves and learning more about each other. Not once did they ever ask about each other's skills. They all silently agreed that they would only explain their skills if one of them didn't understand what happened during it. After all, a true ninja doesn't gloat or explain their moves to the enemy, so why reveal your secrets to your allies who possibly could be spies or prove to be a boon to you later on? The teams that arrived over the course of the 5 days surprised him slightly. The Kumo, Taki, and Suna teams arrived like he expected. Their Uki 12 made it too. Another team that arrived was an Odo team. One of them had to be rushed to the medical ward immediately because apparently his arms were broken. He later came out after 2 days and had casts on both his arms. What surprised him slightly was that Team 7 made it. He noticed Sasuke had the same mark as Anko but didn't care. He was surprised because the overly arrogant emo achiever and equally arrogant but perverted Kiba had made it. He didn't care about the pale kid because he didn't know his skill set. Currently they were in what looked like an arena with walkways on both sides. On the opposite wall the doors was a set of statue hands set in an eternal hand sign that he didn't recognize. The Hokage was explaining something about the exam while Naruto tuned him out for time. To the Hokage's left and right were Anko and the Jonin senseis. After the Hokage stopped talking, Jeku stepped forward. Hokage-sama, I believe it is my turn. I am the proctor and would like to explain the next part. Jeku said, coughing from time to time, putting up his sick act, getting a nod in response from the Hokage. Alright you guys, we are holding a preliminary right now since there are too many teams. From this point on you are all individuals, meaning if one of you quits your team will still stay if they want to. The rules are like this, you will fight in one-on-one matches until one of the genin fighting either die, submit, are knocked unconscious, or I stop the match. The board up there, he pointed toward an electrical board that popped out of the wall above the statue, hands will randomly pick the fighters. Those of you who want to quit do it now. He finished, coughing all the while, and was pleasantly surprised when no one raised their hands. He activated the board and the first names came up. Koroigatsuyu vs Kira, just a note, I will be only giving results for fights that are non-important to me. After the board showed the results, everyone except Kira Koroi, who turned out to be a ninja from Taki, and Jeku, headed up to the walkways. Naruto leaned against the railing with his hands on it so he could study the fight while he was in between Haku and Zabuza. Hajime! Jeku shouted and jumped back immediately. Koroi started making hand signs at a rapid pace. Takigaku Ryu. Mizukiri no Yaiba, Takigaku style. Water cutting sword. After he shouted this he shot water from his mouth and it formed into a sword in his hand. Kira started making hand signs as well saying, "Wonder if your sword can cut through poison corpse-san," she said before shouting, "Dokuten. Osen-ken, contamination sword." She immediately shot purple poison out of her mouth before it formed into a sword that she held in her hands. She rushed forward and did a horizontal slash that was easily blocked. She tried a side kick which was dodged by Koroi side-stepping to the left. She tried an upward slash which was once again blocked easily by him. He went on the offensive by slashing upwards, cutting her on the torso. She didn't flinch however and just rushed forward. She tried to decapitate him but it was blocked once again. She finally realized she couldn't win a kenjutsu fight and jumped back dispelling the sword as it disappeared into a purple haze before it too disappeared, then started doing more hand signs. "Okuten. Gyurakuhizu, poison release." "Black haze," she shouted and the black poison came out of her mouth. She spun while doing this creating a wall of black mist around her. Her foolish opponent rushed forward thinking he could cut through it. He didn't have time to regret his choice however as he jumped head first into the smoke and dropped to the floor convulsing. His eyes started bleeding before they rolled to the back of his head and he stopped convulsing. She walked forward and tore off his arm while the smoke around them still stayed up using her chakra, hiding them from everyone else. She slowly consumed him making loud dripping and squelching sounds as gulping was also heard. Jeku couldn't call the match since he didn't know what was happening. The haze cleared up after a few minutes and everyone was met with the sight of a bloody puddle on the ground and a smiling Kira. They saw blood on her hands, but that was it. "Where is Koroi Getsuyu?" Jeku questioned and immediately regretted it but wasn't surprised when he heard who the new addition to his team was. His reply was Kira patting her stomach and opening her mouth into a wide smile. Everyone noted her bloody teeth and tongue before Koroi's other teammate, that wasn't Fu, yelled aloud. "You ate him?" "Yes I did corpse-san, he didn't taste as good as I thought he would, but it was a decent meal," she replied, making the others shiver, though Naruto did for a different reason. She walked up to the steps and leaned on the rails next to Naruto. Everyone was silent for a few moments before Naruto spoke up. "That was adorable Kai-chan," he shouted as he hugged her, shocking everyone around except Zabuza and Haku as they stood unaffected. Kira was slightly surprised from the hug but hugged him back after a few moments, blushing slightly and bloodying his clothes a little. After he pulled away he turned to Jeku. "Well aren't you going to start the next match?" he asked, shaking everyone out of their stupor. "Ahem, yes of course, board please," Jeku said between coughs making some worry for his health and wonder how he became a ninja, much less a jonin. Tenten vs Sabaku no Tamari. The match ended with Tenten slamming her back onto the end of Tamari's fan. It made Tenten's teammate Rock Lee worry slightly as he jumped down and rushed her to the medic ward while the board showed the next fighters. Shino Aburam vs Aku. The match ended with Aku's arms exploding violently due to the bugs blocking the metal passages in them. Naruto respected Shino a little more afterwards. Tono Nensho vs Haku Mamachi. Both fighters made their way down to the arena. Haku was the first to speak. "So you are from the Nensho clan of Takigaku. I hear your clan can use the Shakutin, Scorch Release, which means we are polar opposites because I use the Hyoten, Ice Release. I hope this will be an entertaining match," she said, angering the boy in front of her. "You're part of the cannibals team aren't you? You gonna eat me too, freak?" Tono yelled, planning to get revenge for his teammate. "No I am not a cannibal nor am I a Kira freaks. She can't control why she eats people, but she is a very enjoyable and friendly person if you are not her or her friends' enemies. For those who are, I pray for their poor souls." Haku finished before Hajime was heard. Tono immediately rushed forward but was pushed back as senbon were launched towards him. He kept trying to get close multiple times but couldn't because more senbon would be launched. He finally gave up and started making hand signs. "Shakutin. Hebomaki Scorch Release." "Coiling snakes," he shouted as red steam came from his mouth and morphed into 4 snakes that launched towards Haku. One latched onto her leg and started evaporating the water in it before the snake dissipated. People were both shocked and awed by the fact that her leg returned to normal. Haku then started making hand signs. "Suitin. Mizurappa, water release." Water trumpet. Water started jetting out quickly from her mouth and shot towards Tono. He dodged easily before he saw Haku started making one-handed signs. "The Satsu Suisho, 1,000 water needles of death," she shouted. The water around them all shot up and formed into large needles and launched towards Tono. He dodged a majority of them but was still hit by a few, creating holes in his arms and legs, making him fall to his knees. "Surrender," she said simply. "Never. I will get revenge for Koroi," he shouted. Fine then, I offered you the chance to live, guess you took it for granted, she said before once again making one-handed hand signs. Hyoten. Asutarapu. Karasu, ice release. Ice trap. Crush, she said aloud. Ice mirrors surrounded his body before they started heading towards him. They all morphed together and turned into a small half-circle barrier that got smaller and smaller before it crushed him. His screams were heard from everywhere around and blood splattered onto the ice. Once the ice dissipated, all you could see were bones, brain matter, organ matter, skin, and blood spread out everywhere. Jeku called Haku winner and she headed to the walkway to her team as the cleanup crew came. Naruto Uzumaki vs Gaara no Sabaku. After their names appeared on the board they headed down and met in the middle. Jeku called Hajime. And the match started. I can help you, you know I can make the voice stop, Naruto said, getting a stoic look before he continued. I could help you sleep, he said, getting a surprised look from Gaara and his team. Gaara replied, suspicious of the blonde. Simple, I absorb your Bijuu, you will live, you won't be a Jinchuriki, and you could have a normal life. Of course I would take a bigger burden, but I don't mind. Most think that you can't take or seal more than one Bijuu into a single person. This however is not true. The reason you can't really seal more than one is because the first Bijuu sealed won't allow it. You have to have the first Bijuu consent, if you don't then said Bijuu will be able to escape or kill you while trying to seal it. If you allow me to then I will take your burden from you. Of course you will have some of the abilities you had from when it was still sealed inside you, but that's the only after effect. I found out about this from my Bijuu a few weeks ago. I was even more surprised than you are right now. Naruto said, studying his features. I don't know, how would you do so? Gaara asked, hopeful but still suspicious. My sword would absorb your seal and Bijuu, then regurgitate it onto my seal, combining the two seals and adding the Bijuu to myself. The only risk there is that if I don't do it fast enough then the Bijuu will be forcibly released, killing myself and allowing the Bijuu to reign free. He explained. Fine, do it, but if this fails, I'll kill you before it can, Gaara said, stepping forward. I'll tell you this now, this process is painful and will most likely leave you in a coma for a week or two. He warned. He got a nod from Gaara to continue. Alright, here I go. Naruto drew Kui and activated it. He placed it near Gaara's stomach while everyone tensed. Kui Kurosu, devour. After he finished saying this the mouths on the sword convened into one large mouth on the flat of the blade and started sucking on the air between Gaara and the sword. Some thought nothing was going to happen until they saw a seal appear and literally being lifted off of Gaara's stomach. As it left, others could see small strings of beige chakra trying to stick to Gaara, but they eventually snapped and the seal was absorbed. Then Naruto turned the blade to himself and said, Aki Midosu, regurgitate. The mouth then opened and latched onto Naruto's stomach as Gaara fell to the floor. For a few moments nothing happened until Naruto started flinching and twitching. After a few moments of gross sounds and twitching, they both finally stopped and Naruto removed the blade. On top of Naruto's seal was Gaara's. They fused together until Naruto's seal took dominance. Proctor, I believe I win. Naruto said, making Jeku announce him as winner. Naruto then proceeded to pass out and slump to the ground. As he did so he heard a few shouts of his name before his eyes closed into unconsciousness. Mindscape, Ayubi-sama, I still don't understand why you want to gather all the Bijuu to recreate the Juubi, Naruto questioned tiredly. A week ago Kyuubi told Naruto about the Juubi. Kyuubi then told Naruto how he wanted to gather all the Bijuu and recreate it inside of his seal so he could gain its power. Kyuubi told Naruto about the Rikido Sennin and about his prophecy. Kyuubi thoroughly believed Naruto was the one he prophesied about and wanted to help him out in any way he can. What if Naruto ancient summoned Sasuke bashing? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part, comment down, and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.